Good morning. Just requesting to check my sound and if my background is fine, no echo, and if you can hear me clearly.
We can hear you clearly, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yebo mnumzane ungazofaka izinto zephathi la wena yini ngawo?
Ziphi uzibonaphi? Ibonaphi iphathi la?
Manje ngiyabona iqo.
Ibhalwe iphi iphathi la? Uyambona MK?
Nansi iyabona ayisayine ephathi iphepha.
Uphi MK? Uphi MK? Funda. Ubona.
Sawona mnganami.
Baba, kunjani Jobe?
Uthona bona njani?
Hayi no, siyancenga baba, siyancenga. Siyajabula nje ukuthi iRichmond sekubuyele ezandleni ezi-right.
Hawu ndoda ngeke yodwa. Indlela esazohambisa inde kakhulu mnganami.
Yeah. Trying to sort out this lighting is too bright here.
Yeah, it's too bright, but you're right. Iyabonakala.
You're right, Manj. Tanya, is that
Yeah.
better?
Yeah, it's much better.
It's better, Mr. Manu.
Okay. But you can see some blurry stuff at the back. I don't know. Maybe it's this camera. Actually, still not happy with this lighting.
You must wipe your camera, Mani. It's the digital divide, my brother.
Ayithi mtshana uyabona sokhuluma enye ilanguage manje angeke akuze inyambozi imali yeke njalo
Nyamsukela amabom. Because the blurry background, it's the settings. You go to background, you do that purposely to blur the background so that the figure is the only thing that is prominent. The background is blurred when you don't have nice background, or you then put a picture of a parliament. That's what people would do, put a parliamentary picture.
It's actually not a bad
the best.
idea to blur the background.
It's
Because
better when you blur it.
Sometimes you might see things that people don't want to see.
Yeah,
So it's good to have it blurred.
exactly. So please assist me. I think it's the digital divide.
But the background is blurred. What is the problem?
Yes, that's right. It's
The
fine.
settings, go to your
Yeah.
settings, background settings.
Yeah.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I don't
In
want.
fact, it is better to use the blurred background, because when you use the picture, when you move, something happens with your actual picture. But
True.
when you have a blurred background, it's better. It's only that your camera is not clean. That's what I can tell you, that it's not clean. Wipe your camera.
Eish, Ashonla.
tshelile nyambozi ukuthi kunzima lapho usuqile
Kulenge ngesikhathi ama-desktop.
Ayiqali meeting. Sifuna ukuyocelebrate asiwinile Richmond.
Awu ndoda yodwa. Hey.
Uwine ini inkosi ungathathanga umasipala kodwa. Siwinile Hlakathusi yowina kwilembe, siyawina nje, siyathatha manje. Umkhonto ubuyile manje, umkhonto ubuye ngamandla, uyagwaza, ukhipha amathumbu ngaphandle.
Hayi umkhonto ubuthuntu wena yini ngawo?
Ukhipha amathumbu ngaphandle umkhonto manje.
Hayi, angizingeni-ke lezo mina, angikho lapho.
Abantu bomkhonto bayeke ukudibhetha ungathi abazi ukuthi uma uyishaya umthetho kuyahluka umasipala nomnyango kazwelonke.
Yeah.
Kunomuntu omkhonto nje ungathi uhlala edidekile ongawazi umehluko.
Bazofundisana.
Mahlobo faka isikole Mahlobo.
Ngathi siyahabiliswa la sikhona.
Le camera yami isabonakala lapha because sengenze into ngapha.
It's much better then. Yeah.
Okay.
The
All
only thing I think what also is affecting you, it's the lighting at the back. Try and change the position to let the light be in front of you than to be at the back.
Abet or free low or you switch off the light.
Yeah.
Nikwa
And
nje
use
free
the
abet. Free abet. Kuba nyamboze.
Phela
So take the
abanye
offer
mathole
from
sazalwa
Mackenzie
before
and go ahead.
technology.
Does that work?
In fact, inkinga ile khande lapha kule sithombe sawo kule t-shirt. Yiyo inkinga.
Honorable members, we are almost going to start, so I'm just letting you know I am going to start the recording now.
Thank you.
Recording in progress.
Good morning, honorable members. I welcome all members who have logged into the virtual mini plenary session. There will now be an opportunity for silent prayer or meditation. Thank you. Honorable members, before we proceed, I would like to remind you that the mini plenary, which is virtual, is deemed to be in the precincts of Parliament and constitutes a meeting of the National Assembly for debating purposes only. In addition to the rules of virtual sittings, the rules of the National Assembly, including the rules of debate, will apply. Members enjoy the same powers and privileges that apply in a sitting of the National Assembly. Members should equally note that anything said in the virtual platform is deemed to have been said in the House and may be ruled upon. All members who have logged in shall be considered to be present and are requested to mute their microphones and only unmute when recognized to speak. The microphones are very sensitive and will pick up noise which might disturb the attention of other members. And when recognized to speak, please unmute your microphone, and where connectivity permits, connect your video. Members may make use of the icons on the bar at the bottom of their screens, which has an option that allows a member to put his or her hand up to raise a point of order. The Secretariat will assist me in this regard. When using the virtual system, members are urged to refrain or desist from unnecessary points of order or interjections. Lastly, I wish to remind you that we are meeting in a mini plenary session, and therefore any decisions will be taken in a full plenary session of the Assembly. The first item on the order paper is a subject for discussion in the name of the Honorable Chief Whip of the Opposition on ensuring ethical governance and accountability in state institutions. I now recognize the Honorable, the Chief Whip of the Opposition.
Thank you, Chairperson. Greetings to everyone in the house. My name is Mzwele Manyi, a proud deployee of the MK Party. I'm supposed to be in KZN celebrating the decisive victory of MK Party for winning Richmond Ward. But instead, I'm here rising to discuss lapses in ethical governance and to expose the shameless abuse of power that continues to rob our people of true accountability. The so-called government of national unity, the Faustian pact between the ANC, the DA, and others, has reduced governance to nothing more than a corrupt game where political elites trade accountability and transparency for blue lights and VIP status, while the people suffer under lawlessness and impunity. We have spoken before about Phala scandal, and we will not allow it to be buried. The Section 89 panel, chaired by a retired Chief Justice, Sandy Ngobo, found that Mr. Ramaphosa had a case to answer. He still hasn't answered that case. That report was never reviewed or set aside by any court of law, therefore it's still valid. And yet the institutions whose heads are appointed and handpicked by Mr. Ramaphosa himself, the SARS, the Reserve Bank, Public Protector, and the NPA, have all miraculously reached conclusion that absolve him. This is not accountability. It is a blatant abuse of state institutions to protect one man. The capture of our institutions does not end here. Recently, the Independent Police Investigative Directorate, IPID, was asked by a progressive sister organization, the ATM, to compile a report detailing how senior SEPS generals unlawfully assisted in covering up Phala. But instead of transparent and accountability, this report was classified as top secret. Here's a contradiction. If Parliament itself has accepted that Phala is a private matter, then how does a report on a private matter suddenly become a threat to the national security? The answer is clear. This government is determined to hide the truth from the people. And what about the biggest economic scandals of our time, the Steinhoffs, the Glencores, the Minkinses of this world? Or are these just mere accounting irregularities, as we were told? Take Glencore, for instance, a company where Mr. Ramaphosa was once a director. This company's rogue activities at Eskom were exposed by former CEO of Eskom, Brian Molefe, whilst under oath at the Zondo Commission. Yet the final report, when it was released, Glencore's name was nowhere to be found in the adverse findings. This is a kind of justice system we have. Instead, black executives and politicians were criminalized, while white monopoly capital escaped unscathed. We must ask, why was President Zuma incarcerated for refusing to continue his appearance at the Zondo Commission, yet white business elites who completely ignored summons walked away untouched? Why were the captains of commerce and industry and other economic gatekeepers never compelled to answer for their roles in the state capture? Instead, the NPA made deals with them. Some even funded the NPA to enable investigation of themselves. How absurd. It's bizarre that His Excellency President Zuma is facing arms deal charges, yet he was just a mere MEC in KZN when the looting happened at national level. This is not about justice. It's about protecting the interests of white monopoly capital and their stooges while punishing those who challenge it. As if this was not enough, we are receiving disturbing reports from the Pan-African Parliament through our MK Party designate. The very principle of governance are being undermined there too. The African Union has a clear policy of regular leadership rotation for the head of PEP. Yet we are seeing clear attempts to extend terms irregularly and with impunity. This is an assault on democratic principles and another example of how those in power manipulate systems to serve their own interests. The MK Party refuses to accept this culture of impunity. We cannot allow institutions that are meant to serve the people to be hijacked for personal and political gains. The MK Party is calling for a fundamental shift. The heads of SARS, the head of the South African Reserve Bank, the Public Protector, and the National Prosecuting Authority. Heads of these institutions must no longer be appointed by the president. The heads of these institutions must be appointed by Parliament and accountable to Parliament, not to one man who uses them as a shield for his own protection. The so-called government of national unity is nothing more than a government of ills, coalition of corruption designed to protect the elite while the people suffer. We reject this betrayal and we demand a South Africa where accountability is not selective, where justice is real, where no one, no matter how powerful, is above the law. MK Party is the only beacon of hope. It's the only organization that continues to push the agenda of the poor, and we continue to say no to any VAT increase. Everybody say amen. Thank you, Chair.
Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Honorable Member. The next speaker is the Honorable Tikana Kokiwe.
Thank you, Honorable House Chair. I'm trying to change to the video, but it does not connect.
You may proceed without the video, Honorable Member. I understand
Okay.
that sometimes there's a problem with the bandwidth.
Thank you, Honorable House Chair.
Thank you.
House Chair, the primacy of our constitutional framework and Batupile in realizing the imperatives of the Freedom Charter that I quote, the people shall govern, goes as follows. The South African constitutional framework is premised on reversing the injustice of the past and ridding the state and society of the legacy of apartheid and colonialism. The system of colonialism and apartheid eroded good governance, ethics, and accountability from the illegal state that it led. It excluded the majority of the people, not through laws only, but through violence. Therefore, the apartheid state, in short, lacked humanity and Ubuntu. State resources were used without accountability to advance the empowerment of the white minority and to oppress the black majority. It is for this reason that when the democratic government into power drafted a constitution whose preamble make a commitment to, I quote, lay the foundation for a democratic and open society in which government is based on the will of the people and every citizen is equally protected by law. Chapter 12 of our Constitution talks about the separation of powers of the three arms of the state, the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary, while exercising oversight over each other or checks and balances to strengthen our constitutional democracy. The separation of powers also ensures there's ethical governance and accountability. Honorable House Chair, the Constitution in Section 98, Section 1, requires that members of the Cabinet and Deputy Ministers must act in accordance with the Code of Ethics prescribed by the national legislation. This also extends to members of the Executive Council in provinces. Chapter 10, Section 1, subsection A of the Constitution requires that public administration must be governed by the democratic values and principles enshrined in the Constitution, including a quote, a high standard of professional ethics must be promoted and maintained. Furthermore, for the ANC, integrity and ethics have always been part of our core values throughout its history and are what shapes our actions as ANC cadres to put the people of our country first and to serve both them and our organization. In our 2024 ANC manifesto, we assert the need for honest, dedicated, and capable cadres to implement the manifesto. The challenges of our struggle for a better life for all are difficult to and diverse. Transformation requires honest and dedicated leaders. We have, on several occasions, stated publicity that we have made some mistakes as the African National Congress. Now the ANC is working hard to restore the trust and your confidence in us as the leader of fundamental socio-economic transformation in our society. At its last two national conferences, the ANC voted to address society challenges and to serve the people with discipline and integrity. We have embedded the principles of Batupile in shaping our government to give expression to imperatives of the Constitution. Our first democratic government in 1997 introduces Batupile for public service to improve the way government serves the people. This was a commitment, not just a plan, and for many years, Batupile has been the foundation of our public service. In the sixth administration, we have introduced the professionalization framework for further put into action Batupile principles. The implementation of framework is already showing positive signs, and we hope to build on the work of the previous administration to fully implement the framework to restore the integrity of state and improve accountability. We have strengthened public accountability through legislative interventions such as Public Finance Management Act, Municipal Finance Management Act, Public Service Act. We have introduced institutions of accountability known as Chapter 9 institutions, and we still have confidence in those institutions. In addition, this House Parliament has powers to establish ad hoc committees. Honorable Chair, the makeup of our country is such that no one immune from accountability. We have shown that through exposing state capture, corruption, and unethical behavior. We established the Nugget Commission that focused on SARS. It was our strong oversight and accountability challenges that were able to tackle COVID-19 corruption, and we continue to fight corruption wherever and wherever it has been detected. Honorable Chair, and members, our society is changing like all societies. Sometimes these changes are good and sometimes they are bad. At times, our conduct as human beings becomes a threat to a greater good. This is why it is important that from time to time we reflect on the need to renew society, to arrest greed and corruption, and ensure that we serve our people with Ubuntu. This will help us deal with corruption within public service and ensure that public servants are not compromised. Honorable Chair, I would like to, or tempted to say, I'm sharing this or I'm presenting this as a proud member of the African National Congress who never changed T-shirts 4 times, and I'm proud to be members of the ANC and serve the African National Congress in our government. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member. The next speaker is the Honourable Mkhitam. Is the Honourable Member on the platform? If the Honourable Member is not on the platform, then I will, in the meantime...
He's here, Chair. He's here. He's here. Just unmute.
He's muted.
Unmute Mkhitam.
Yeah, then he must unmute himself. Mkhitam, just unmute yourself. It seems to be a connection issue, audio problem wherever the member is. What I will do is, honourable members, I will move on to the next speaker. And then when that connection is sorted out, we will go back to the honourable member. The Honourable Potgieter.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Can I proceed?
Please proceed.
Thank you so much. It is our responsibility to address this critical issue, to reflect on how far we've come, if at all, and to consider how much further we still have to go in achieving true ethical governance. In 2010, the chairperson of the Public Service Commission wrote a piece titled "The State of Professional Ethics in the Public Service, post-1994. In it, he states, government has a duty to proactively promote a culture of honesty and good governance, which will in turn lead to effective and efficient service delivery. This requires a public service that is professional, ethical, and performs its duties and tasks with integrity. While the statement could have easily come from the priorities of the current GNU administration, it was penned 15 years ago. If we fast forward to today, we find that much of what was warned against has come to fruition. Governance and service delivery in our country have deteriorated to the point where they are often synonymous with corruption, maladministration, mismanagement, inefficiency, and dysfunction. Although several key institutions were established to address ethics and accountability, and new ones were introduced to further these objectives, we are left asking ourselves, are they truly making a difference? Our Constitution outlines a variety of independent institutions tasked with upholding integrity, transparency, and accountability in government. These include the Public Protector, which investigates misconduct in government and state institutions, focusing on maladministration and abuse of power. The Auditor General, which conducts independent audits to ensure government finances are managed with accountability and transparency. The Public Service Commission, which oversees ethics, integrity, and professional standards in the public service. And the South African Human Rights Commission, which monitors human rights violations, including those related to governance and corruption. In addition to these, we have a series of anti-corruption and law enforcement agencies aimed at combating unethical conduct. The SIU, or Special Investigating Unit, investigates serious corruption and maladministration, with powers to initiate civil recovery proceedings. The NPA, or National Prosecuting Authority, prosecutes criminal offences, including corruption-related cases, through specialised units such as the Investigating Directorate. The Hawks focus on organised crime, financial crimes, and corruption. And the Financial Intelligence Centre monitors financial transactions to detect money laundering and corruption. Parliamentary committees, ethics committees, and commissions such as the State Capture Commission, or Zondo Commission, have worked to investigate and provide recommendations for reform in response to widespread corruption. The Zondo Commission in particular laid bare the systematic rot in state institutions and provided a roadmap for actions. Even more recently, we've seen new initiatives such as the National Anti-Corruption Advisory Council, which advises the government on strengthening anti-corruption measures, and the proposed independent PSC through the PSC Bill Amendment, which seeks to establish the Public Service Commission as fully independent from executive influence. As the Democratic Alliance, we have consistently championed these accountability measures, not just in words, but through concrete legislative proposals and governance practices in the areas where we lead. These developments signify a positive shift, but the challenge remains, is enforcement truly effective? Despite the establishments of these bodies, corruption continues to undermine governance and service delivery, leaving the question hanging. What tangible progress has government made in the past decade alone? We must acknowledge that the public is tired. They are tired of speeches, they are tired of promises, they are tired of hearing about ethical governance while corruption and mismanagement persist. People are frustrated with the lack of progress. They are tired of hearing nice words that fail to translate into real results. The gap between rhetoric and reality is widening, and this erosion of public trust is not just damaging to our institutions, it threatens to undermine the very foundation of our democracy. The anatomy of fraud and corruption highlights that in order to combat fraud and corruption, we need to redesign and train organizations to strengthen their culture, making them more resilient to unethical practices. It is no longer enough to talk about ethics and accountability or create policies that go unnoticed. We need measurable results that transform the way government functions on a daily basis. For Parliament to address this, it must take a leading role in strengthening ethical governance through the stronger oversight of public institutions by ensuring that all decisions are transparent and making it clear that corruption will not be tolerated. By ensuring that all public servants are not only aware of ethical codes, but are also regularly trained on how to uphold them in their daily work. Training should include real-life scenarios, helping them understand the importance of their roles in promoting integrity and transparency. We need to enhance mechanisms for whistleblowers to ensure that individuals who expose corruption are protected and incentivized. Without this, there will be no real accountability. Proactively monitoring compliance with ethical standards, investigating violations, and taking swift action when necessary. When the public sees that unethical behavior is addressed promptly, it builds trust in state institutions. And lastly, institutionalizing accountability so that it is not a one-time reaction, but a permanent feature of the government's operations. Ethical governance should be woven into the fabric of public institutions, preventing unethical behavior from becoming ingrained in the system. As Parliament, our strategic vision is clear: to build an effective people's parliament that is responsive to the needs of the people. This vision needs to be driven by the ideal of realizing a better quality of life for all South Africans, making sure that governance is grounded in ethical principles. We must be guided by the realization that good governance is not just about passing laws. It's about ensuring that those laws are enforced, making public institutions accountable and transforming the way that we serve our people. In conclusion, Chair, the task ahead is not easy and the stakes are incredibly high. But we have the tools, we have the institutions, and we have the mandate to create a governance system that works for the people and not for the corrupt. This is a collective responsibility, and each one of us has a role to play in ensuring that we create a system where ethical governance is the norm, not the exception. The corrupt few who have benefited from this broken system must be held accountable, and we must put in place safeguards that prevent such abuses from happening again. If those responsible for the failures of governance within our institutions are ineffective, they need to be removed from their positions, and replacements who will serve the public interest must be found. Lost, and to create a future where our governance works for the people, sustainably, fairly, and with integrity. The time for speeches is over. It's time for change. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member. May I just check if the Honourable Nkitama is now connected?
Thank you, Chair. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, you are audible. You may proceed.
Thanks, Chair. We must thank the Umkhonto we Sizwe Party for suggesting the topic of debate today. A clean, ethical, and accountable government is critical to addressing the triple challenges of poverty, unemployment, and inequality. It is an indictment on the entire political leadership of the country that 30 years into democracy, 55% of the population is living below the poverty line. Our people experience food insecurity in the land of plenty. According to the census of 2022, 25.8% of the population, or approximately 15 million individuals, suffer from food insecurity, while 11.4% or approximately 6.8 million individuals experience severe food insecurity. South Africa faces extreme high levels of income and wealth inequality. With the top 10% holding a disproportionate share of the national income and wealth, while the bottom half struggles with poverty and limited access to resources. The same levels of disparity manifest in the land ownership patterns. These conditions make South African life very difficult for the poor. A corrupt, weak, and inefficient state that fails to hold the corrupt accountable is an incapable state to address these challenges. It's a national disgrace that we have incidents such as Phala, corruption, and concealment by multiple institutions, from parliament to the public protector to the bizarre classification by the police of the report on Phala. Umkhonto we Sizwe and Umkhonto we Sizwe government shall prioritize a clean government by holding accountable all those involved in corruption. 500 billion COVID funds remain unaccounted for, indicating the institutionalization of corruption. That's where the revenue shortfall should come from, not from punishing the poor with more taxation. Arrest the culprits and let them pay. A focus on white monopoly capital corruption is key to ending all corruption. The Stellenbosch Mafia sought to capture the state, hence the 1 billion rand donation to the CR17 campaign. The same white monopoly capital was allegedly corrupted the judiciary, as we have seen with the judgment on to conceal the CR17 donors. There is no transparency in the state, hence the multiplication of corruption, which has reached unsustainable levels. An MKP government shall make sure that corruption is dealt with harshly and without any favors. Missing in a discussion of corruption in the public discourse of clean government is the highly influenced by our history of racism, which shields from view the biggest corruption generators who end up benefiting from corrupting the state. The MK party agitates and struggles for a transparent government that puts the people first. Such a government shall deal with all corruptions evenly. A glaring example of the differential treatment of white and black corruption is in the handling of the Gupta-linked waterproof military base lending, and on the other hand, the acquisition of the private international airport by the Oppenheimers. The media and the so-called corruption civil society was correctly up in arms in the waterproof lending, but are totally silent on the alleged unethical acquisition of Fireblade by private airport by the Oppenheimers. Another example is the Marcus Jooste of Steenhof, who should be the face of corruption in South Africa. We must remember the mother of all corruption in South Africa is land theft by whites. That's the blueprint of all subsequent corruptions. Addressing the land question is a start to addressing corruption. Until white monopoly capital is disciplined, dealing with state corruption is going to be near impossible. A transparent and ethical state will crack the whip on white monopoly corruption. That's exactly what the MK Party government shall do. An ethical, accountable, transparent government is not just a nice to have thing. It's foundational to addressing the triple challenges of poverty, inequality, and unemployment. Without a clean government, there are no prospects of a thriving economy and transformation. The GNU, or the so-called GNU, is by design incapable of constructing an ethical government. Only an MKP party government can develop an ethical, responsive state that puts the people first. I thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Member. The next speaker is the Honourable Noluchungu.
Thank you, House Chair. Chairperson, in October 2016, former Public Protector Thuli Madonsela released a report that was to change the manner our society understands the corrosive impact of power on ethical governments. Madonsela report, aptly titled State of Capture, provided a chilling account of how the entire fabric of the state was corrupted for the benefit of just one man and a group of Indian business people who were his benefactors and who had thoroughly captured whatever revolutionary ethics were left in him. Subsequent to that report, we saw Parliament and the then ruling party going to great lengths to defend the conduct of a man whose greed and disregard of the law risked making this country a laughingstock in the whole world. People such as Nathi Nhleko, who is today the chairperson of the MKP party, enabled by the majoritarian posture of the ANC at the time, reduced this parliament into a circus when they undermined the public protector and told everyone that a swimming pool built at taxpayers' money in Nkandla was a fire pool. That report was never reviewed and set aside, and remains an authority to this day. As a consequence of that report, a judicial commission of inquiry into allegations of state capture was established, and more of that rot was institutionalized under the Zuma administration was to be revealed. We now know for a fact that the sponsor of this very motion, Mr. Manyi, was at the center of the rot discovered by Zondo at the Commission of Inquiry and was one of Zuma's trusted enforcers. We know for a fact that many other people who are now firmly in the benches of the party that sponsored this motion were implicated in the findings of the Judicial Commission of Inquiry. The Commission recommended that a number of implicated individuals be investigated further and possibly prosecuted for their involvement in state capture.
Honourable Noluchungu, Honourable Member, you just give me a moment, please. I see the hand of the Honourable Reddy. Honourable Reddy, why do you want to be recognized?
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I think the rules of the debate, and I want you to call upon the Speaker to please refrain from referring to unconcluded
Honourable Reddy, you are not audible. I cannot hear you.
I can assist him, Chair. I think it was
No. The Honourable Reddy took the point of order, so I must recognize him. Honourable Reddy, can you close your video? Close the video link so that we can hear what your point of order is. The Honourable Reddy is not capable of doing so. Before I go to the Honourable Mani, I also see the hand of the Honorable Mashlula.
Sorry, Speaker, I didn't hear you. I did not hear
No,
you.
Honorable Reddy, I
Yes.
said you must close your video
Close the video.
so that I can hear what
Yes.
the point of order is, because your audio connection got lost.
Is that better? Can you hear me
That's
now?
better, yes. That's better.
Okay. Thank you very much. Speaker, the issue here simply relates to the fact that I think the rules of the NA will apply even in this virtual platform. And I think I would like you to rule that the previous member is making references to commissions like the Zondo Commission, whose findings have been questionable, where even Shamila Batoy has declared that—
Honorable Reddy, what is the point of order? Let's not go into the substance.
Point of order is that the House is being misled, because we're not talking about the disruptions caused by them in Parliament, where they threw chairs and all that kind of things. You know, we're not talking about that disruptions here. So I'd like you to urge members, let's keep the decorum.
Honorable Reddy, you've made your you've now made your point. Honorable Reddy, you've made your point. This is a debate, and there's different views around these matters. These reports that are being referred to are in the public domain, and they are at different stages of being processed or whatever it is. It is a political debate. And the speaker who sponsored the motion will have the opportunity at the end to respond to the debate. That's why I'm not inclined to restrict the members in terms of reports that are already in the public domain. Falls outside of the rules at this stage. And I want the honorable member to continue, but I see another two hands. The Honorable Mani, your hand is off now. The Honorable Winnie.
Okay, no, okay,
Chair, you had
okay.
recognized me.
Yes, your hand went down. Yes. Honorable Reddy, can you lower your hand?
No, Chair, I was going to rise in terms of Rule 85.
Chair, you had recognized me before.
Honorable members, I will recognize the members in order of the hands that was raised. But if you lower your hand, it means you no longer want to be recognized. The Honorable
No, somebody lowered my hand. I've never lowered my hand, Chair.
Honorable Mhlaule, what is your point of order?
Chair, I wanted to raise a point of order, Honorable Reddy, that it can't be that when Honorable Mani makes reference to the Zondo Commission about the incarceration of President Zuma, and then made an opinion that it was wrong, and then Noluchungu, Honorable Noluchungu made the same reference and it's wrong.
I've ruled on the matter.
It can't be.
I've ruled on the matter. Why are you reopening the matter now?
My hand was raised, Chair, before you
I've
ruled.
ruled on the matter. The Honorable Ntlangwini.
Thank you, Chair. Now you have ruled on the matter, Chair. Chief Whip Pesquake.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Honorable Mani.
Chair,
Thank you, Chair.
I'm rising in terms of Rule 85.
Yes.
That the member must not.
You like disrupting people, man. You keep quiet and you carry on with the debate.
Honorable
Can you allow
Dlamini.
me to continue, Chair?
Honorable members, let us allow this debate to continue. Honorable Mani, you will have the opportunity at the end also to respond.
Yeah, but I'm raising a point of order, Chair. I'm raising a point of order.
What is your point of order?
I'm rising in terms of Rule 85.
Yes.
That if the debate, members must not cast aspersions. The member is casting aspersions without a substantive motion. So can you please rule on that, Chair?
Yes, honorable members, when we debate, let us, especially for those who are sitting members of parliament, if you have any information at your disposal, instead of just raising it, it must be raised through a substantive motion that must be submitted to the office of the speaker, where a determination will then be made in terms of the veracity of the allegations that you are raising against another member. It is not in the rules of debate just to raise a matter that is pertaining to another member without submitting a substantive motion. Let us proceed in that manner. Honorable Noluchungu, you are on the platform, you may continue.
Thank you, Chairperson. The Commission recommended that a number of implicated individuals be investigated further and possibly prosecuted for their involvement in state capture, mostly concerning charges of fraud Corruption, Money Laundering, Contravention of the Public Finance Management Act, the Prevention and Combating of Corrupt Activities Act, and Prevention of Organized Crime Act, and racketeering. Some of the high-profile individuals were the late Dudumieni, Brian Molifi, Salim Hessa, Eric Wood, Arnold Singh, Siyabonga Gama, Machela Koko, Lucky Montana, Arthur Fraser, members of the Gupta family, Duduzane Zuma and Jacob Zuma himself. Chairperson, Parliament then enabled this conduct to be embedded and institutionalized in the state. It is important that we remember the role played by everyone in protecting and enabling the corrupt practices sponsored by Mr. Zuma. Today, Parliament is doing the very same thing. We now know for a fact that Mr. Ramaphosa is no different from Mr. Zuma, and that in fact he may be worse. We now know the millions of dollars that got into this country illegally were stuffed inside sofas at his farm. We know that he used resources of the state to find those who stole these millions of illicit money from his farm. We know that South African Reserve Bank, the public protector, and this very parliament saw nothing wrong with this conduct by Mr. Ramaphosa. It cannot be that you all conveniently condemn Zuma for this corruption, while you are protecting an even worse corrupt individual now occupying the union buildings. To win this fight against corruption and embedded unethical conduct across the state, we must fight against crime in all its manifestations and not only against faces we dislike. The least said about the National Prosecuting Authority, the better. The NPA has not initiated a single state capture case and seen it to its end successfully. The head of NPA, Shamila Batoy, is one of the most thoroughly useless National Director of Public Prosecutions ever appointed in democratic South Africa. Chair, the EFF has long maintained, however, that the true capture of the state, the most classical examples of unethical conduct in government, is found in the relationship this nationalist bourgeoisie has with the white racist captain of industry. The very existence of this sham government of national unity is as a result of the ANC being forced by those who have them by their balls to work with racists. Ethics at the core entail a responsive and responsible government, one that prioritizes the needs of the majority of dispossessed Black people in the country. Only through a takeover of the state by revolutionary forces would we see ethical governments in this country, and only the economic freedom fighters can deliver that sort of government. Thank you.
The next speaker is the Honorable Sitole. The Honorable Sitole.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. As the IFP Freedom Party, as Inkatha Freedom Party, we firmly believe that good governance is the foundation of prosperous society. Without ethics and accountability, state institutions lost their integrity, and ultimately it is the people of South Africa who suffer. Honorable Speaker, we cannot ignore the reality before us. Corruption, maladministration, and the lack of accountability have become an epidemic in many of our state institutions. Year after year, the Auditor General report highlights fruitless and wasteful expenditure, mismanagement, and outright flawed billions of land that should be used to uplift the lives of our people are lost to corruptions. Where there is an accountability, there is justice. Where there is no justice, public trust is eroded. This is not just a political issue, it is a crisis that affects every South African, from the poorest to the wealthiest. It is undermines services delivery, stifles economic growth, and deepens inequality. The IFP has always championed ethical leadership. Our party was founded in the principle of honesty, integrity, and service to the people. These values were embodied by our late founder, Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi, who consistently put the needs of South Africans before personal gain. As a party, we strongly advocate for government that is transparently accountability and responsive to the needs of the people. We believe that ethic governance must not be exception, it must be standard. To install ethic governance in our state institutions such as the Special Investigation Unity, the Public Protector, and the National Prosecution Authority must be fully empowered and resourced to investigate and prosecute corruption. Political interference in this institution must be eliminated. The failure to act against corrupt official embodied wrongdoing, we must ensure that those who steal from the people face the full might of the law. The awarding of government contract has become a breeding ground for corruptions. We need transparency in procurement process to prevent irregularities and ensure that state contract benefit the people, not the politically connected. Citizens and whistleblowers play a vital role in exposing the corruptions. However, many faces threats and intimidation. We must strengthen whistleblowers' protection laws and create a safe environment for those who expose wrongdoing. Honorable Chairperson, ethic governance is not a privilege. It is a fundamental requirement for functional democracy. The IFB stands firm in our commitment to ensure that state institutions serve the people with honest transparency and integrity. Let us build a South African where state institutions are entrusted, respected, and true accountability to the people. The time for empty promises is over. South Africans deserve real actions and ethical leadership. I thank you, Honorable Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Member. The next speaker is the Honorable Sauls.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Greetings in the wonderful name of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Wenke awuniki. Ensuring ethical governance and accountability in South Africa and South Africa's state institutions is complex. That demands a multifaceted approach. Here are some key considerations from the Patriotic Alliance. Number one, we must bring God back. When we feel ultimate accountability stops at the legal instruments, then all that will be required is to find loopholes in the law to continue unethical behavior. But when we posture ourselves as ultimately being accountable to God, who sees all, then seeking to please God will result in ethical governance, placing people above profits and principles above personalities. Two, we need to build stronger legal frameworks. We must strengthen our legal frameworks to support ethical governance, a move from the logic that the discipline of law is exclusively to determine what is legal and not always what is right. Because not everything that is legal is right. Apartheid was legal, but it wasn't right. In addition, we need transparent processes. We need to strengthen independent oversight bodies, more public engagement and oversight, stronger whistleblower protection, regular audits and assessments, and speedy prosecutions of those found to be corrupt. We believe as a Patriotic Alliance that the GNU model of governance is a step in the right direction for ethical governance because it allows for partner parties to hold each other accountable. The national budget is a clear example. The fact that the finance minister showed humility in revisiting the 2% VAT increase decision in order to further consider inputs from other parties speaks volumes. His Excellency, the President Ramaphosa, doing his best to navigate through different party policy positions in his attempt to find the perfect balance is not easy, but it is commendable. Islam teaches, with difficulty comes ease. South Africa shall prosper, and one day, as a nation, Black, white, colored, and Indians shall live as Africans in particular, all of us in one country, and we shall experience ethical governance as is already happening through the GNU. Salute. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Member. The next speaker is the Honourable Denner.
Thank you, House Chair. Honourable Chair, when investigator Paul Holden appeared before the Zondo Commission on Monday, 24 May 2021, he detailed the flow of money from government entities into the Gupta's money laundering network, where 49,157,323,233 rand and 68 cents, to be exact, could be traced, but he warned the true value was much higher. And he was right, because the South African people are still paying the price for state capture and the 9 lost years under the Zuma ANC administration. On Tuesday, 15 January 2019, the former President Zuma published a 1,000-word statement on Twitter defending his legacy and attempting to highlight the successes of his tenure, much like what the Honourable Flope tried to do in his speech during this year's SONA debate. What he and the MK conveniently forgot to admit was the following that happened under their president's watchful eye. The economic growth rate between 2009 and 2017 barely exceeded 1.5%. Unemployment rose from 22.5% in 2008 to 27.5% in 2017. Public debt as a percentage of nominal GDP went from 26.5% in 2008 to 53% in 2017, probably to mostly fund state capture. The price of electricity ballooned 350% from 2008 to 2017. The South African economy was at its lowest growth point since 1945, and poverty was increasingly visible on every street corner, while the Gupta-Zuma alliance was plundering the fiscus and South Africans were suffering and are still suffering due to its effects. Aside from this unending list, government entities bearing the brunt of the plundering included Eskom, ask the MK's Honourable Brian Molefe, Transnet, ask the MK's Honourable Siyabonga Gama, Prasa, ask the MK's Honourable Lucky Montana, as well as SAA, Denel, Safcol, SABC, SA Express and the IDC, to name but a few, not to mention the number of provincial and national government departments. So all in all, House Chair, we've heard a lot of the pot calling the kettle black from the MK speakers today. That's why we find the topic of today's debate, namely ensuring ethical governance and accountability in state institutions, coming from the Mkhonto weSizwe party, to be the epitome of hypocrisy. The ANC should not consider themselves innocent or absolved either. Many of the ANC leadership today were ANC leadership then. Dit was immers aan die hef van die ANC en onder 'n ANC-regering wat hierdie skandvlek van staatskaping en algehele verval plaasgevind het, waar daar nie verantwoordbaarheid en etiese leierskap in staatsentiteite en regering was nie. Daarom het Suid-Afrikaners hulle stem verlede jaar by die stembus dik gemaak en het ons vandag 'n regering van nasionale eenheid wat hierdie skip moet omdraai. Die RNE werp reeds vrugte af, soos ons gesien het met die begroting, maar die ANC sal moet besef dat hy nie meer alleen in regering staan nie. Vir goeie rede, en die MK sal moet besef dat hy nooit weer in regering kan of mag staan nie. Ons moet immers uit geskiedenis leer. Dis 'n groot skip om te draai, voorsitter, maar ons, veral die ANC, is dit aan die mense van Suid-Afrika verskuldig om as 'n regering van nasionale eenheid etiese en verantwoordbare regering te verseker. Waar vennote soos die PF+ in die verlede, anders as die MK vandag, deel gevorm het van werklike effektiewe opposisie, sal ons die teenwigte in die RNE voorsien en verseker dat daar uit die foute van die regerings voor ons geleer word. Hy's voorsitter, ek dankie.
Thank you, Honourable Member. The next speaker is the Honourable James.
Honourable Speaker, honourable members, I begin with the immortal words of Nelson Mandela. We must use time wisely and forever realize that time is always right to do right. These words remind us that ethical governance is not an option. It's a duty we owe to every South African. Every week in Parliament, I sit in portfolio committee meetings where state institutions present reports riddled with corruption, mismanagement, and waste. Whether it is our police stations crumbling under neglect, our correctional services failing the very people they serve, or our social development programs misappropriated by those in power, one fact remains undeniable. There is no culture of accountability or consequence management. Yet the problem is not a lack of funding. It's the systematic looting of public funds with impunity. Corruption today is not merely an act of betrayal. It is abuse of political power, price gouging in public procurement, and gross negligence that undermines the fabric of our society. That is why Action SA is stepping forward with our zero tolerance corruption bill. This legislation is designed to address the glaring limitations of the Prevention and Combating of Corrupt Activities Act, PRECA, by expanding the definition of corruption and closing key loopholes. Our bill will criminalize the non-reporting of corruption, extend liability to those who remain complicit through inaction, and even hold the private sector accountable for corporate malfeasance. We are anchoring our proposal on 3 robust pillars. Number 1, mandatory minimum sentences for corruption involving transactions exceeding 500,000. A minimum sentence of 15 years imprisonment will serve as a stark reminder that betraying public trust is a crime with no easy escape. Robust sanctions for private sector corruption. Individuals and corporations will all alike be held accountable by mandating the repayment of corruptly acquired funds alongside severe punitive measures. Permanent disqualification. Anyone convicted of corruption will be barred permanently from holding public office, serving as an accounting officer, or working in any state-registered non-profit institution, ensuring that they can never again abuse public trust. Honorable Speaker, let there be no mistake. The urgent reforms we propose should have the support of every party that claims to fight corruption and wastage. Our legislative action is a defining step towards restoring Parliament's vital role in our constitutional democracy, where the interest of South Africans must always come first. This week, as we receive the 2025 budget, much has been said about which departments deserve more funding, but let me be clear, it isn't a question of money. The real issue is that public funds are being squandered and looted with impunity. When we asked the Auditor General what single action would bring accountability, her answer was as blunt as it was visionary: orange overalls for corrupt officials. We stand on the threshold of a new era where ethical governance is not just preached but practiced. The time to act is now. South Africans are watching, and we will not rest until every crooked deal is exposed and every corrupt official is held to account. I thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member. The next speaker is the Honourable Ghana.
Nakhensa mtshamaxitulu ngizonda kukuxeweta na maAfrika-Dzonga. Mtshamaxitulu, there's a favorite quote that I like, which says, knowing is not enough. We must do. Willing is not enough. We need to apply. So how does this relate to the discussion that we are having this morning? Is that we know what the problem is in this country. We have actually gone to the extent of drafting laws to try to deal with unethical behavior that we have in our country. But drafting the laws on its own, whilst it might give the drafters and those that pass the law to say we have done something, we have actually not done enough. Because those that continue to steal the money, the hard-earned money of South African people, enjoy it, they go to Dubai, they build big houses, they buy cars, and there's no consequence for that. So our problem, Chairperson, it's not the absence of laws. We can draft and write laws until the cows come home. If there's no implementation of the laws, there's no consequence of those that are deliberately doing the wrong things, then we will not win this battle. We find ourselves in a position where, as a country, we do not have enough money to do most of the things that we like to do. But the little money that we do have is being stolen, is being used to go to Dubai, go to other places, build mansions for people, whilst majority of South Africans go to bed hungry. And I must say, whilst I agree with Honorable James that those that steal must wear an overall, where I will differ slightly is that the color of that overall must not be orange. It ought to be lime green. And those that have been convicted of stealing the money of South Africans on weekends in their lime green uniform, they must be cleaning the streets of South Africans so that we can show to South Africans that if you steal from the public, you are going to be paraded out there every weekend as a way to discourage people from ever stealing the money that belongs to South Africans. They must get a different color uniform from the other types of criminals. And every weekend they must be cleaning our streets. If there's one law that I believe we have to make, is to deal with those that have been convicted of corruption. It must be to say, if you have stolen from the South African people, you cannot be even getting a pension. Because one of the things that makes people to continue stealing is that they steal, they collapse departments, they collapse state-owned entities, and they walk away with a golden handshake. These are the things that, as Rising Mzansi, we believe should be done to deter people and bring back ethical governance in our state institutions.
Thank you, Honourable Member. The next speaker is the Honourable Subrathi.
Thank you, Chairperson, and Assalamu alaikum and good morning. Chairperson, thank you for this opportunity to engage on a topic that is foremost on the minds of all South Africans. And let me also thank the Honourable Mani for allowing me this opportunity, Chairperson, to reflect on the tireless efforts of the African National Congress in arresting the scourge of unethical conduct. And I'm sure Honourable Mani is aware of many individuals who were or are in the process of being brought to book for unethical conduct in terms of our laws without fear or favor. And Chairperson, I found it strange that Honorable Mani did not even mention those fugitives from justice, the Gupta family. They owe our country billions. Will Honorable Mani support our government's attempts to extradite the Guptas? That would show integrity and of the highest level and patriotism. Perhaps Honorable Mani might want to reflect on that when he comes in at the end. Chairperson, my presentation will cover three elements. One, I will place the issue of ethical as a societal responsibility, and I will expend a substantial amount of time because Honorable Ghana wanted to know about the laws. I will expend some time in terms of what the African National Congress has done legislatively to close the gap on unethical conduct, and I'll reflect then on the implementation and the successes. Chairperson, as I begin, the first speaker of the ANC, I think, had a few minutes left over, and I would like to utilize that time. Chairperson, over the past 31 years, our public service has been confronted with various challenges which have tested the resilience of our governance system. The levels of corruption which involves public servants and those who are private players, such as business persons and citizens, generally has hidden levels of unethical conduct in our society. Now, the Zondo Commission highlighted the complex interplay between private business and public servants and public representatives. Chairperson, it is this complexity that requires a whole of society to tackle. It is a societal matter that speaks to the reality of human behavior. Now, the impact of low levels of ethics in various facets of a society, Chairperson, poses a risk to our social fabric, and this requires all South Africans across all races, all religions, all political and association lines, as the task of moral regeneration is a societal duty of all patriots. For public representatives, the oath we take should embody our psyche and actions. And in doing so, we shall work united to build a better South Africa. Chairperson, one of the challenges we should overcome as political parties, as public representatives, and those in executive is to play our role without interfering with the administrative functions of public officials. The political and administrative interface should be managed within the distinct role of executive authority and administrative authority. Chairperson, coalitions that have led to the weakening of local government, for example, in Tshwane and in Johannesburg, have largely been about negotiations for executive council positions to interfere with administration. We are confident that the changes in both Johannesburg and Tshwane will contribute to strengthening governance in the city. Chairperson, now let me respond to what the ANC has done in intervening. The ANC has always adapted legislation to respond to emerging challenges of governance with the sole purpose of strengthening and building an ethical and capable developmental state. This is also a priority, Chairperson, of the Government of National Unity led by the ANC. The ANC, Chairperson, in the 6th administration introduced the professionalization framework, which is supported by various legislative amendments. The professionalization framework, in fact, Chairperson, is supported by various entities such as the National School of Governments, which has scaled up its training and has introduced courses which focus on ethics in public service. To this effect, that the Department of Public Service and Administration directed government departments to ensure that officials enroll for the compulsory Ethics in the Public Service online course offered by the National School of Governments. Chairperson, in the 6th administration, the African National Congress introduced legislation to strengthen public administration by introducing the Public Service Administration Amendment Bill and the Public Management Amendment Bill, including the devolution of administrative powers from executive authorities to heads of department. Now, the Public Service Commission Bill further expands the scope of the commission to focus on local government, which will contribute to ensuring that suitably appointed municipal officials are in place to reinforce the implementation of the professionalization framework. The Companies Second Amendment Act extends the period to disbar delinquent directors as recommended by the State Capture Commission. In fact, it has extended it from 24 months to 60 months or 5 years, and that can be further expanded by court. Chairperson, to stabilize local government, the executive will introduce the Municipal Structures Amendment Bill, which will bring more stability and predictability in managing municipal executive council. To strengthen the capability of the state to take decisive measures in tackling corruption, the 6th administration under the ANC further amended the National Prosecuting Authority Amendment Act to enable the establishment of independent investigative directorate to operate as an entity with prosecutorial capabilities and multidisciplinary capabilities. Now, the Honorable Garner alluded to and spoke about consequences and what has been the outcome of legislation. Let's reflect upon it. Since inception, the Asset Forfeiture Unit has frozen 30.38 billion rands. Yes, 30.38 billion. It has confiscated and forfeited 12.98 billion rands, and it has recovered 11.78 billion rand, of which, Chairperson, 6.8 billion was returned to victims and 4.89 billion was paid into the Criminal Asset Recovery Account, otherwise known as CARA. Further, Chairperson, since the current NDPP's appointment, the Asset Forfeiture Unit has frozen 14.13 billion, confiscated and forfeited 4.8 billion, and recovered 5.09 billion, almost half, 46% of all freezing orders, 37% of all confiscations and forfeiture orders, and 44% of all recoveries were attained in the last 5 years. Chairperson, over the past 5 years, 39 high-profile state capture corruption matters were enrolled by the Investigating Directorate Against Corruption. Almost 700 government officials and over 1,000 private sector individuals have been convicted of corruption. Chairperson, the ANC has called for the prioritization of the local government sphere to respond to the basic service challenges which continue to impact a number of communities in South Africa. Chairperson, as the ANC, we have further supported the Auditor General to contribute through the exercise of her audit mandate after the amendment of the Public Audit Act in 2018 to take measures to tackle material irregularities by stopping procurements which are non-compliant with legislation, saving the state funds and also recouping funds from accounting officers and third parties. Chairperson, the AG, in its annual report for 23-24 has made 626 material irregularity on non-compliance and suspected fraud, resulting in 500 cases with material financial losses estimated at 21.68 billion rands, and 182 matters resolved, and 192 having appropriate action taken to resolve the problem. A total in excess, Chairperson, of 3 billion rands was either recovered, in the process of recovery, or losses were prevented. Chairperson, this is a tangible impact of legislative amendment by the African National Congress. Chairperson, we must continue our legislation to strengthen measures to tackle unethical conduct. All these measures, Chairperson, were actions taken by the ANC government to tackle a problem we have identified and in keeping with what the Constitution requires from the exercise of state power. Chairperson, as I conclude, the ANC has responded to the call of society to tackle the scourge of corruption and to improve public service. It is a people's task, Chairperson, that we should work together to ensure that we transform the social fabric of our society to truly reach the heights envisaged by the Freedom Charter and Constitution. Chairperson, as I learned, it is the responsibility ultimately of voters to ensure that they vote only for the most ethical leaders. And it is the collective responsibility of political parties and government to ensure that their employees and officials are of the highest ethical caliber, so that as a country, lesser time and money is spent monitoring ethical behaviors and more of our energy and our money is expending in serving our people. And I thank you, Chairperson.
Wow,
Thank you,
well
honourable
said.
member. Is there a speaker from the NCC? The PAC? The next speaker then is the Honourable Esak.
Thank you, House Chairperson. Fellow South Africans, the MK Party have only decided on their debate topic late on Wednesday, whereas debate topics have thus far this term been submitted timeously by the rest of this parliament. But be that as it may, they've chosen a very fitting subject for discussion, especially considering the composition of their caucus. I find it difficult that a debate on ethics and accountability has been sponsored by the very same party that counts amongst its members the first judge to ever be impeached in our democracy. Now, the impeached judge is contesting his impeachment by this very House. How ethical, how accountable, I must ask. On Wednesday, the finance minister tabled a budget proposal where he mentioned that our national debt will increase beyond forecast. We will now pay some 22 cents for every rand of debt, which is more than the budgets for the departments of police, health, and basic education combined. The opposition has either forgotten recent history or they simply just choose not to care, having wasted 9 precious years of South Africans' lives. And considering that my colleagues have now opened the door, let us discuss their own legacy of the ethical and accountable leadership that they have shown. To a former head of both Eskom and Transnet, I hope you are very happy having driven both the entities to the ground for your gain and that of your cronies. I would like to propose to the public, including, of course, the Fort Estate, that as opposed to referring to our country's energy and locomotive crisis, we rather now use the term breaker's legacy so as to be more precise. Next, to the former head of PRASA, after successfully breaking our passenger rail, leaving commuters stranded it is surprising that you do not bring the same figure to our parliamentary work. You are barely in committee. We know why South Africans struggle to commute to their jobs. But I wonder, what is your excuse for not making it to work on time? And then, of course, the former head of GCIS, a spokesperson to various crooks by profession. He enjoys camouflaging, having worn 3 political hats recently. I wonder which one he will don next. South Africans, please have a look at the official opposition and assess for yourselves whether you wish to be governed by this lot. Your government may have its disagreements, but that is certainly a better way than the alternative. At least we are building when they only seek to break. Now, having clarified reality, allow me then to articulate what ethical governance and accountability actually looks like. As a minimum, we need a cadre-free, professional, and independent public service that serves South Africans first and not politicians. There must be no political meddling in the recruitment and selection of those entrusted with the taxpayers' money. Second, if you are found guilty of corruption and malfeasance, you should not serve as a public representative. End of story. Next, if you fail to deliver results for South Africans, you are tossed from your job, not shuffled around to bigger and better things as we've seen in the past. We must have regular lifestyle audits, Chairperson, for public representatives and government officials. There must be a parliamentary committee to oversee the presidency, which we trust, of course, that our ANC partners will now sign on to. Of course, after they've overcome some stages of their grief, but that's understandable. And we believe that the recommendations of the State Capture Commission under former Chief Justice Zondo must be implemented in full, as articulated by some other colleagues. I cannot agree more with the remarks of my colleague, Honorable Knott. The public is tired, Chairperson. The public is tired of hearing the same tired refrain of ethical governments when corruption runs rampant, of accountable leadership when no one gets arrested for stealing from the poor, of a caring government when they open their taps and not even a drop of water appears. The breakers will never have their chance at doing what they do best. All we need from our opposition colleagues is to get out of our way and let the builders begin to do their jobs. I thank you, Chair.
Well said.
Thank you, Honourable Member. The next speaker is the Honourable Maduna.
No, thanks, Chair. Good morning to honourable members, the honourable Chair, fellow South Africans. Chair, I must just say now, as I begin, that I will use the word first many of times during this debate. As it's become clear that those that brought this debate, they have many firsts within their ranks. Today, let us, as we deliberate here, reflect on the pillar of our democracy, our Chapter 9 institution, as we do so at the backdrop of our movement 113th anniversary of the formation of the African National Congress, the People's Movement for Freedom that continues to unite our country in a national effort to transform our country into a united, non-racial, non-sexist, democratic, and a prosperous society. The efforts by, let's note also the efforts by the ultra-right Afrikaner organization that continue to peddle misinformation internationally about our country. This is very sad, and it's very sad that some of honorable members, or it appears like they support some of these misinformations. The year 2025 serves as a milestone of 70th anniversary of Freedom Charter. We are all here today writing on this matter that the people shall come. Thereof, we commend our government for having made noticeable efforts to boost accountability through, among other things, following the institutions that are designed to safeguard our rights and ensure accountability and ensure that our constitution is protected. I will just make a mention to few. As I said, that I will use the word first a lot. The Public Protector's Office, it must be noted that it has constantly demonstrated commitment to investigating complex cases of maladministration. The Public Protector has brought to light instances of high-level corruption leading to significant public discourse and, in many cases, legal action. One of these examples is the state capture that was first exposed by this Office of Public Protector. As well as that, we must know that among the members of those that brought this debate, they have the first public protector to ever be impeached. That is why I said I will use this word first a lot, because it appears like those that appear to be index of the state capture report are standing on high grounds today speaking about accountability while they were in the echelons of power, while this country was being sold to some family. And this commitment by a public protector to hold power accountable is a testament to their dedication to the rule of law. Honorable Chair, the South African Human Rights Commission has been instrumental as well in promoting and protecting rights of the vulnerable groups. The Commission has conducted numerous and extensive inquiries into issues such as access to water, healthcare, and exposing attention to an inequality in the systems in our country. Perhaps they should look at also the remarks by the president of those that brought this debate that all teachers who get pregnant must be sent to Robben Islands, as this would be a direct violation of human rights of the people of our country, as envisaged and as written in the Constitution of the country. The Commission for Promotion of and Protection, and Chair, it was for the first time that we hear a former president making such reckless statements. 3, Chair, the Commission for Promotion, Protection of Rights of Cultural, Religious, and Linguistic Communities has and continue to play a pivotal role in mitigating disputes between communities, thus preventing potential conflicts within our country. Their work in promoting intercultural dialogue has significantly contributed to the project that is outlined in the National Democratic Revolution of the social cohesion and diversity in our country. The non-racist society that the ANC seeks to achieve. The Commission for Gender Equality has been driving force behind the legislative reforms aimed at promoting gender equality, and their advocacy continue to increase over gender-based violence and the need for stronger protection for women. And we have seen many lobbying that have made, that have led to the president of the country declaring many instances or the instances of gender-based violence to be a priority and something that must be dealt with at the agency. The Auditor General, Chair, the Auditor General has done a marvelous work. They have done a marvelous work to ensure that financial accountability has been scrutinized in identifying irregularities and preventing corruption within all levels of government. And ensure that it provides insights into the performance of government, departments, state-owned entity enterprises. For instance, the 2022-2023 AG report highlighted that there is gradual improvement in municipal audit outcomes. with the reduction of disclaimer from 27 in the previous year to 23. This shows a positive progress, which is as a result of the ANC local government interventions. This reflects the ongoing efforts to ensure that financial management at local level, through significant challenges, remain significantly challenging, as evidenced by 166.585 billion irregular expenditure. These reports are integral to Parliament oversight, particularly the Standing Committee of Public Account, which utilizes this finding to ensure that we hold government. We, however, should note the improvement that has been happening. We know that ANC, wherever it touches, we see good things. The Electoral Commission, which is IEC, has constantly delivered free and fair elections, earning the trust of South African and international community. Their efficient management of electronic process is a cornerstone of our democracy. We condemn the work they do every election, mostly recently after 2021 local government election that continued into recent 2024 government election, which was peaceful. Again, the MKP was the first political party to say that they were robbed in elections. However, we have seen in by-elections that they are continuing to lose, which means it was just a fallacy that they would have won 65% of elections. Parliament must be commended by the continuous demonstrating of its capacity for oversight through virus intervention. The inquiries into the collapse of African Bank, Eskom, SA Board, state capture, which exposed many of those that today are standing on high ground and are speaking about ethical leadership and ethics in government. And this also led to recommendation for reforms. The establishment of ad hoc committees to investigate specific issues supported by detailed report public hearing shows the transparency which were presented to Parliament. The Zondo Commission showed the transparency and the accountability. The Zondo Commission report, which were presented to Parliament, contained significant funding and recommendation that Parliament has a duty to act on. Additionally, our Parliament oversight is further strengthened by the legislative framework that supports public participation. The Municipal Structures Act, number 117 of 1998, and the Municipal Systems Act of number 32 of 2000, which mandate ward committees and development of integrated plans, which is IDPs. Statistics South Africa General Households Survey data shows that while participation varies, a significant percentage of households engage with local government services, including the level of interaction. Reports from Department of Government and COGTA indicate that efforts to improve alignment with national priorities, for example, COGTA 2023 annual report detailed the capacity building program held and enhancing municipality planning and implementation and showcasing continuous drive to improve. Honorable members, the Department of Monitoring and Evaluation, led by the minister, have developed the development of the National Evaluation System, which is a structured approach to evaluate government programs. The DPMSME published the evaluation reports now evidence-based into policy effectiveness. For instance, the effectiveness of early childhood have informed the policy adjustment. The shift towards outcome-based performance indicator is evidence that the department performance information framework, government departments are increasingly required to report on the impact of their program, not just the activities. Chair, the Department of Monitoring and Evaluation Outcomes Report further details the information on progress towards the national development goals, allowing citizens to track government performance over time. The DPME is also involved in continuous improvement of the National Development Plan 2030 monitoring to ensure government efforts are aligned with the National Development Agenda and the progress measured against common set of indicators. The department efforts to ensure intergovernmental coordination and evaluation are also noteworthy as they are working to build capacity and evaluation at the provincial and the municipal level. That performance is being collected across all government spheres. Honorable Chair, as I learned, I must state that it should be I believe that it's very difficult when as a leader or as a chief whip, you are leading a political party whereby
your time is now expired. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Member. I now recognize the Honorable Chief Whip of the Majority Party of the Opposition. Apologies, the Chief Whip of the Opposition.
That's a good professor.
You will never be majority party.
That's a good professor. Yeah. Thank you,
Never.
Chair. Chairperson, I'm not going to waste time with the desperate comments from Ms. Botiwe. That's why I got you in Eastern Cape. She mumbled something about the Freedom Charter, and yet today we sit with no land, we sit with no wealth, we sit with no work, we sit with no security, we sit with no universal health access. So she just makes platitudes of something that she has got no comprehension of. And also, Mr. Subrati, your brothers there in Dubai, they've got no warrant of arrest, but he keeps lying to you and saying they are fugitives. They're not fugitives. They are free. They are free people out there. There was a judgment in March 2023 in Dubai where the judge said, "Where is the warrant? There is no warrant. Go and argue with the Matoi there." The DA is just busy here, busy with the apartheid nostalgia. These are the opportunities of this world. They are just chasing VIP status and blue lights. They've got absolutely nothing to add to the to society. Freedom Front Plus, I think those ones are they've just reminded me that we should get back Nuremberg type trials. The NPA, as we currently sit, before I even get there, there's nothing much more to say about the jukebox. The less said about them, the better. Fact of the matter are that, Chairperson, the South Africa was better when Zuma was in charge. Transnet was better when Gama was in charge. Prasa had moving trains when Montana was in charge. Eskom had no load shedding when Brian was in charge. Those are the facts. We're sitting here with people talking stuff about the commission. The commission is contributing only 0.01% of the NPA caseload. There's absolutely nothing prosecutable from all that nonsense that was happening in the Zondo Commission. So we don't put any credence in that. By the way, that commission or any other commission has got no binding legal effect. So the noise made about the Zondo Commission is totally misplaced. We're sitting here as MK Party as a beacon of hope, as the only party that is growing. Mr. Maduna here, he talks about being the first. Yes, indeed. Let's continue with the first notion. We are the first party to drop the ANC from 50% to below 40%. We're the first party to do that. The first party to bring the ANC to its knees, and we'll continue to do this. So indeed, Chairperson, it's very clear here. I'm struggling to hear. People were just mumbling things that they got no coherence in what they were saying. So we continue to say, let's hold governance and accountability as high as we can and stop this pretense. DA keeps posturing as a party that respects constitutionalism, and yet they are the first people to make deals on very serious stuff that do governance, that relate to governance. So, Chairperson, I think I really have absolutely nothing to respond to here. Our topic is very proper. We're the only party here that the people of South Africa are waiting for, and we are ready to take over government. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Thank you to the Chief Whip of the Opposition. I think the Honorable Minister of Water and Sanitation will be glad to hear it's the Chief Whip of the Opposition. Honorable Members, that concludes...
Yes.
That concludes this debate, and thank you for your participation. We will now
Long live the chair.
proceed. We will now proceed, and we will go to the last item on the order paper, which is a subject for discussion in the name of the Honorable Dithebe on investing in capacity building, infrastructure, and legislative reform to address the crisis of water management and to improve compliance with the blue, green, and no drop standard. The Honorable Dithebe.
House Chairperson, thank you very much. I am here. I will shortly switch off my video so that I can continue with my speech. Thank you.
Please proceed.
Honorable Chairperson, House Chairperson, honorable members, our topic for discussion today, investing in capacity building, infrastructure and legislative reform to address the crisis of water management and improve compliance with blue, green, and no drop standards, is a lofty goal that lies at the heart of the dignity we promise our citizens in our Constitution, as captured at Section 27, which among others guarantees the right to water within the available resources of the state to progressively realize this and many other rights. While delivering the 2025 State of the Nation address, the President made the following observations on the state of our water and sanitation, among others. In many cities, he said, and towns across the country, roads are not maintained, water and electricity supply is often disrupted, refuse is not collected, and sewage runs in the streets. He continued, in part, this has happened because many municipalities lack the technical skills and resources required to meet the people's needs. He went on, many municipalities have not reinvested the revenue they earn from these services into the upkeep of infrastructure. Many people in our cities, towns, and villages are experiencing more and more frequent water shortages as a result of failing water infrastructure. It is impossible, he concluded, to live without water, and it is impossible for the economy to grow without water. We are in full agreement with the President, and as the ANC, we urge the department to leave no stone unturned, to prod municipalities to turn the above bleak situation around by doing everything in the water and sanitation master plan to see to the well-being of all South Africans on the water and sanitation front. Thus, I approach this debate with a renewed sense of hope and optimism, because only 2 days ago, the Minister of Finance tabled a very balanced budget which prioritizes investment in water and sanitation and institutional support to municipalities to deliver quality, reliable water to communities and stop the endless flow of untreated sewage in our streets, as well as clean water, which constitutes a loss of revenue to municipalities, which are water service authorities. Our communities have been on the receiving end of unreliable water supply and sewer spillages for too long, and this debate is about assuring them that help is on the way, with the strong support that we witness from the Department of Water and Sanitation, a point that all parties in the Portfolio Committee are agreed on. Our questions to the Minister on a wide range of concerns are often responded to in an informed, accurate, courteous, and ethical manner, and where information is insufficient, honest follow-ups are always made. Nevertheless, the ANC believes that the Minister and her department can help us to speedily end the inconvenience and challenge of unreliable supply of water, including billed and unbilled water losses, often referred to as non-revenue water, with municipalities playing their rightful role in this regard. Thus, we remain hopeful and optimistic that an irreversible path to great and ongoing investment in water and sanitation has begun in earnest, and that the nightmare of water unreliability and the indignity of unsafe, unhygienic, and unhealthy sanitation will recede into the distant past. To this end, our municipalities must, as a matter of urgency, invest in water services development plans and hire suitably skilled personnel who can stand who can and must run our waste management treatment plants and ensure that the water reticulation networks reliably supply water and that water losses are drastically reduced to below 10% of the water provided to them by the water boards. Above all, these water boards must be paid regularly by municipalities and other users. Investing in capacity regarding the technical skills. House Chairperson, very few would argue that the pause in the issuance of the blue drop, green drop reports in 2013 and 2014 respectively hugely undermined and harmed what is wholly accepted as a scientific way of managing the whole cycle of water and sanitation services. We, however, commend the sensible and noble efforts of Minister Mchunu, the predecessor of Minister Majudina, for restoring in 2022 the blue and green drop reports respectively, and no drop assessment in 2023. This very useful monitoring and evaluation tool of the consecutive steps, commonly known as the value chain, that go into our water and sanitation processes until the water reaches the consumer, as regulated by a very rigorous SABS standard 241, SENS 241, must be implemented without any let-up. According to regulations, all process controllers and supervisors must be classified as per their qualifications and years of experience. The department is responsible for classification of process controllers, and plant personnel are required to register for classification through the Integrated Regulatory Information System, IRIS, and are provided with classification certificate. The green drop requirements make provision for sharing of supervisors for basic systems that are also small. This reduces the burden of small and remote wastewater treatment works, as a roaming supervisor can visit a number of facilities once or twice a week. In addition, the green drop requirements outline the requirements for plant maintenance team to ensure effective maintenance of wastewater infrastructure for ongoing operations. Thus, the ANC insists that all technical compliance by wastewater treatment works in terms of skills, equipment, and practices must be strictly adhered to. With the anticipated 940 billion rand investment in infrastructure overall and the 156.3 billion rand in water and sanitation, as per the budget speech on the 13th of March 2025, we hope for the best in addressing water losses within the reticulation networks of municipalities and water boards. Thus, we must reverse the 2023 47% non-revenue water incidents in municipalities. We welcome the Water Partnerships Office, in partnership with the Development Bank of Southern Africa and the South African Local Government Association, to help municipalities define, deliver, and sustain value, create, deliver, and sustain value to their customers and stakeholders. Thus, hundreds of billions of rands will be required to fix municipalities to deliver on their legal and constitutional mandate. Every strategy is needed to achieve this, but so are the requisite logistics in this regard. All sensible people will agree with the Department of Water and Sanitation that all current water service providers will have to apply for an operating license.
Thank you, Honorable Dithebe. Your time has expired. Thank you very much. The next speaker will be Honorable Reddy from MK. Honorable Reddy, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Acting Speaker, fellow members of Parliament, and the people of South Africa. I want you to picture this. An elderly woman, Gogo Miriam, wakes up before sunrise in the township of Umlazi. She walks to the street with an empty bucket, hoping that today, just maybe, the water tanker will come. The last time she had running water in her home was 2 weeks ago. She waits along with young children and struggling mothers in a long line under the scorching sun. Hours pass, the tanker doesn't arrive. Her frail body cannot take another trip up and down the road, but she has no choice, because without water, she cannot drink, cook, or even bathe. This is not just Gogo Miriam's reality. It is the daily suffering of millions of South Africans under the so-called government of national unity. They tell us that we are in a democracy, that the people come first. But how can we believe this when in eThekwini alone, close to 60% of water is lost and unaccounted for? It is not reaching the taps of ordinary South Africans. Instead, it flows onto the streets, seeps into the ground, or vanishes due to the corruption, mismanagement, and incompetence. This crisis is not just about infrastructure. It is about dignity. It is about life and death. The water crisis in South Africa is a direct consequence of a government that has failed to prioritize the most basic human right, access to clean water. Let us be very clear. The ANC and the DA, in their so-called GNU alliance, must take full responsibility for this catastrophe. Poor management, corruption, and failing infrastructure are crippling our country. Our cities and towns suffer daily water outages. Yet ministers sit in comfortable offices, sipping imported bottled water. Billions of rands meant for water infrastructure have vanished into the pockets of corrupt officials while children go to bed thirsty. We just heard the honorable member from the ANC-DA coalition say that the Minister of Finance has allocated billions to water and sanitation. Just where is this money going to go to when this minister said to us yesterday that her department is not responsible for bringing water to the taps? We are watching our rivers and beaches become polluted, wastelands, because wastewater treatment plants are either dysfunctional or neglected. No action, no accountability, no shame. This is a crime against our people. We are told that South Africa is a water-scarce country, but this is only half the truth. The real issue is that we are wasting and losing water on a catastrophic scale. Non-revenue water, the water lost through leaks, theft, and billing failures, has reached nearly 60% in eThekwini alone, and up to 50% in many other areas. This means that for every 2 liters of water pumped, 1 liter is lost. Think about this. South Africans are being told to use water sparingly, while the government allows billions of liters to disappear daily. If a private business lost half its product before it even reached customers, it would collapse overnight. Yet this government treats this crisis with arrogance and indifference. Honorable Acting Speaker, we cannot speak about statistics without speaking about people. We heard the previous speaker talk about a master plan. Master plans don't bring water into the taps of our people, because behind every failed water system is a child who cannot bathe before school, a hospital struggling to function, an elderly person unable to cook a meal. In Hammersdale, families queue for hours for water tankers that never arrive. In areas like Queensborough, Phoenix, Amaoti, Tongaat, and Umlazi in KZN, desperate citizens are now taking to the streets. Someone once said that the next war will not be fought over minerals, wealth, or land, but over water. We are sitting on a time bomb. In Newcastle, sewage flows into rivers, making tap water unsafe. In Durban, beaches are declared unsafe because of extreme E. coli levels. Raw sewage, that shit, is flowing directly into the sea. In the Eastern Cape, thousands rely on dirty boreholes because taps have run dry for months. Schools in Hammersdale, which I've seen personally with my colleagues from MK, are closed for days every week because there is no water. This is not a natural disaster. It is a result of government failure. The MK party does not just point fingers. We bring solutions because we believe that water is not a privilege. It is a right. It is one of the pillars of our commitment to restoring dignity to the people of South Africa. And this is what we will do. Number one, we say declare water infrastructure a national disaster, national emergency. Stop the lies, stop the excuses. Government must prioritize fixing leaks, upgrading wastewater plants, and securing water supply systems. Number 2, end corruption in water management. No more tenders for politically connected businesses. Water contracts must go to competent professionals, not cronies. Number 3, hold municipalities accountable. Municipalities failing to deliver water must be placed under administration and their leaders must be removed. The minister has the power to use Section 62 and 63 of the Water Services Act to go and fix municipalities, but she's failed to do it. And number 4, invest in infrastructure and water recycling. The MK Party demands massive investments in water treatment, conservation, and alternative supply methods. Cities like Singapore recycle almost 100% of wastewater. Why is South Africa still dumping sewage into rivers? Number 5, let's empower communities to monitor water supplies. Communities must have direct oversight over water supply systems to prevent mismanagement and hold officials accountable. Friends, enough is enough. Honorable Acting Speaker, fellow South Africans, we cannot allow another year of this suffering. We cannot accept a government that prioritizes the profits of the rich over the survival of the poor. We cannot allow thieves and liars to rob our people of water while blaming climate change or technical issues. The MK Party stands with every South African, like our leader, President Zuma, who is the voice of the downtrodden in this country. The people who have suffered because of these water failures, corruption, and government incompetence. We will fight and we will not rest until every home, every school, and every hospital has clean running water. The bottom line, Acting Speaker, is the buck stops with this Minister of Water who keeps passing the blame. She must go. Penny must go. Because without water and the Penny Minister, there is no life. And without justice, there is no democracy. I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Please do not interrupt. Thank you, Honorable Reddy. The next is the ANC, Honorable Mosikatsi. Thank you, Honorable. Please proceed.
Point of order, Chair.
Please, what point of order are you rising on?
Chair, Honorable
What point of order are you rising on, sir?
let me speak. Let me speak. I want to speak. I'm saying Honorable Reddy keeps referring to the Minister of Water and Sanitation as PEMI, and it's not allowed according to the rules.
Okay, thank you. Your comment is noted. Honorable Reddy, please note that you may not refer to anybody by their name. You need to maintain decorum in the House. Thank you. Please proceed, Honorable Mosikatsi.
Acting Speaker.
No, please.
The point should have been raised.
Honorable Reddy, no, please. You have not been recognized. Please, you have not been recognized, and you're not rising on a point of order or anything else. Please, the matter is over. I've ruled on it. Please, let's move on to Honorable Mosikatsi. Please, you may take the floor. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, Vice Chair and honorable members. Can I switch off my video, Chair?
Please go ahead. No problem.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairperson. In restoring governance and improve the management and functioning of water services authorities, better management their water and sanitation infrastructure. We need to strengthen governance and accountability of water service authorities through putting governance systems in place, through ensuring the provision of water and sanitation services, regulating water use of households and business, protecting water services resources in our jurisdiction of municipal areas, the collection of revenue of water, and the payment of water boards. By ensuring integrated planning and coordinating of water and sanitation projects through the enforcement of the district development model, we need to involve water service users, and stakeholders in the decision-making process. And it's also important that communities are provided water in an equitable manner and other users. in enhancing the performance and impact through collaboration with retired professionals, which is universities and technical, vocal, and training colleges in water and sanitation sector with the aim of sharing knowledge and expertise to enhance effectiveness and efficiency of water services provision. Stakeholders' participation is very critical in decision making. Municipalities, it's important that their capacity is being built so that they can be able to implement and monitoring legislation to ensure sustainable and water service delivery. In improving the management of operation of water and wastewater treatment works, we will improve water conservation and water resources management through raising widespread awareness in our communities on water services and ecosystems, by passing and enforcing regulations and bylaws in our municipalities, recycling or redirecting of water sources, and collection of revenue for water uses is very important. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Honourable Member. The next will be DA, Honourable S.J. Moore. Please take the floor.
Thank you, Honourable Chairperson. Honourable members, water is a basic human right. It's essential for life, health, and economic development, creating jobs and economic growth. Yet across South Africa, millions of people experience dry taps, waterborne illnesses, and collapsing infrastructure, not because of drought or natural disasters, but because of political failures at the municipal level. Year after year, we have received damning blue, green, and no-drop reports and similar reports like them, exposing how water infrastructure is crumbling, how wastewater treatment works are polluting our rivers, and how municipalities are losing up to 40% of their water through leaks. The problem is not a lack of solutions. It is a lack of political will to implement them and a lack of consequences for those responsible. Honourable Chairperson, too often we hear that municipal officials lack the technical skills to manage water services effectively, and that may be true in some cases. But let's be very clear. The real problem is not weak officials, it's weak leadership. The problem is that the very politicians meant to oversee water provision are instead prioritizing patronage over service delivery, protecting cadres instead of competent officials, and tolerating corruption instead of ensuring accountability. South Africa does not lack engineers and planners or professionals capable of fixing our water crisis. What we lack is the political leadership to ensure that competent people are hired, that budgets are spent wisely, and that failing municipalities face real consequences. Consider the city of Makhanda, which is formerly known as Grahamstown. Once a vibrant educational hub, it has been plagued by chronic water shortages due to financial mismanagement and underspending on infrastructure. Residents have endured prolonged periods without water, leading to service delivery protests and legal action against the municipality. I studied at Rhodes University, and the town's economy is reliant on the education sector, including the university and the many excellent schools. These water outages are a threat to this amazing educational city, which is fair. What parent sends their children knowingly to a place without safe and secure water? This must change. In Johannesburg, the situation is equally dire. In December 2024, the city experienced severe water supply cuts, lasting up to 86 hours at a time, disrupting daily life and critical services, including hospitals and the Constitutional Court, the highest court in the land. These outages were attributed to poor management, infrastructure failures, and corruption within the local government. In September 2024, the Charlotte Maxeke Johannesburg Academic Hospital faced a water crisis that led to the cancellation of non-emergency surgeries and compromised patient care. The hospital was forced to divert surgeries to nearby facilities, highlighting the vulnerability of our healthcare institutions to municipal failures. These examples are not isolated incidents. They are symptomatic of a broader leadership crisis in our municipalities. We can pour billions into water infrastructure, but if corrupt and incompetent leaders remain in charge, that money will be wasted. We have seen this pattern before: wasteful spending on our water projects that never materialize, tenders that are awarded to politically connected individuals with no expertise, and budgets that vanish when communities go without water. The time has come to hold leaders accountable for their water failures. This means charging municipal managers and officials with misconduct if they repeatedly ignore water infrastructure maintenance, declaring water failures a governance emergency, allowing for immediate interventions in municipalities that fall below acceptable service delivery standards, and voting out mayors and councillors in non-performing municipalities if water services don't improve. Without real consequences, we will be back here next year reading another Blue Drop report filled with the same failures and making the same excuses. Honourable members, we need a national commitment to ending impunity in water management. Every official, every politician, and every government department responsible for water services must know that failure will no longer be tolerated. If a wastewater plant pollutes our rivers, someone must be fired. If a town runs dry due to mismanagement, someone must be prosecuted. If billions in water infrastructure funding disappear, someone must go to jail. It is time to put the people first and make water provision a non-negotiable priority. Honourable Chairperson, honourable members, if South Africa does not fix its water governance, we will fail, regardless of how much money we invest in infrastructure or how many officials we train. The reality is simple. Without consequences, nothing will change. So let this Parliament send a clear message. Water is not optional. Service delivery is not optional, and accountability is not optional. South Africans deserve better, and it is our duty to ensure that they get it. I thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Moore. The next speaker will be from the EFF, Honourable Dlamini. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Chairperson. As the factions of the ANC in the form of the MK and the African National Congress engage in mudslinging matches, allow us to give this House much needed guidance to the Department of Water and Sanitation. A South African crisis is a direct consequence of years of mismanagement, corruption, and underinvestment in critical water infrastructure. The 2022-2023 No Drop report highlights a sharp decline in water loss management practices across municipalities, exposing the failures of a system that lacks accountability and enforcement. The Economic Freedom Fighters firmly argues that the water infrastructure must never be surrendered to private capital. Instead, the state must take full control to ensure equitable access, quality service delivery, and sustainable water management. Water is a basic human right and a public good that should never be commodified for profit. The global trend of privatization in water management has proven to be disastrous, often resulting in a higher cost for consumers, service exclusion for the poor, and a decline in quality of water systems. South Africa must reject any attempts to hand over this vital resource to private corporations whose primary interest is profit maximization rather than the well-being of the people. Historical cases worldwide demonstrate that privatization leads to deteriorating infrastructure and private entities cut costs to maximize profit. The government must reinforce its role as the sole provider of water services, ensuring that the needs of the people, particularly those in rural and underdeveloped areas, take precedence over financial gain. The Department of Water and Sanitation must prioritize the strengthening of governance and legislation to reinforce accountability in water management. The report indicates that 56% of wastewater treatment plants are in critical state or poor condition, leading to environmental degradation and public health crises such as the Hammanskraal cholera outbreak. This failure stems from inadequate government oversight and regulatory non-compliance. To address this, the states must establish independent monitoring agencies to oversee water management and prevent corruption, introduce stricter penalties for municipalities and officials failing to meet water quality and infrastructure standards, ensure transparency in all water-related projects to prevent further fiscal maladministration, such as the Giyani Water Project debacle, and strengthen local government structures to ensure municipalities have the technical capacity to manage water infrastructure effectively. The government must take decisive action by directing public funds into expansion and modernization of infrastructure, prioritizing the rehabilitation of water treatment plants to meet blue, green, and no-drop compliance standards, the reduction of water losses by repairing and replacing outdated pipelines and distribution networks, the implementation of smart water metering systems to track consumption and prevent wastage, and the expansion of wastewater treatment capacity to prevent pollution and protect natural water resources. Rather than outsourcing these projects to private companies, the government must develop state-owned construction and engineering firms to lead the infrastructure renewal efforts, ensuring cost efficiency and accountability. One of the fundamental challenges in effective water management is the shortage of skilled personnel in municipalities. Nearly 40% of local government lack the technical capacity to manage water infrastructure properly. The EFF calls for increased investment in training and development programs for engineers, scientists, and water management professionals in collaboration with universities and technical institutions to design specialized courses in water infrastructure management and mandatory reskilling of municipal staff to enhance compliance with standards and improve service delivery. By equipping professionals with these necessary skills, the state can build a workforce capable of maintaining and improving water infrastructure without reliance on external private entities. The government's intervention in water management must prioritize equitable access, particularly in rural areas. Disparities in water infrastructure between urban centers and rural communities remain a significant concern. Rural populations, often the most affected by poor service delivery, facing frequent water shortages and unsafe drinking water. The EFF demands that the government initiatives prioritize rural development by constructing new water treatment plants in underdeveloped areas, expanding reticulation systems to reach remote communities, and providing free basic water for indigent households as a constitutional right. Water access must never be a privilege dictated by market forces. It is the state's responsibility to ensure that every citizen, regardless of geographical location or economic status, has access to clean and safe drinking water. The ongoing water crisis in South Africa is not merely an infrastructure problem, but a governance failure that demands urgent state intervention. The EFF rejects any notion of privatization of water services and insists that water infrastructure management remains in the hands of the government. Through legislative reforms, significant public investment, enhanced capacity building, and a commitment to equitable access, South Africa can ensure that water is not wasted. The time for bold government-led action decisions is now, before this crisis deepens any further. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Dlamini. The next speaker is from the PA, Honorable Matapo. Thank you. Honorable Matapo, are you there?
I am here. Thank you, Honorable Chair. Let me just switch on my video. Thank you, Honorable Chair, honorable members. The Northwest Province faces a severe water crisis due to prolonged droughts, aging infrastructure, and poor resource management. Many communities nationally...
Yes, what rule are you rising on?
I'm sorry, member, for interrupting. I think the the member that's supposed to fall is Honorable Dithebe.
Okay, let me just check with the table staff. Give me a second.
Yeah.
I'm just checking. Okay, you're correct. Would you mind, Honorable Matopa, if we get the correct speaker?
I wouldn't mind, Chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Apologies there for the slip up, honorable members. Please, can the Honorable Dithebe please take the floor? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Honorable Chairperson. Honorable Chairperson, our Constitution affords everyone the right to have access to sufficient water. The right is further enshrined in the Water Services Amendment Act of 2004. In the year 2015, in the Sustainable Development Goals, our country and many others agreed jointly to achieve universal and equitable access to safe and affordable drinking water. We agreed to improve water quality and wastewater treatment by 2030. This is outlined in Sustainable Development Goal 6. This has been our call to resource municipalities financially and through capacity building so they can efficiently provide clean running water sustainably. We have also called for a national water audit wherein damaged and aging water infrastructure can be repaired or replaced. Speaker, as the IFP, we recognize that some of the water challenges we face are not just due to aging infrastructure, but are deliberate acts of criminality. There have been cases where water infrastructure is intentionally damaged so that emergency repair contracts can be awarded to specific companies. To address this, we call for stricter and more robust bylaws that will impose severe penalties on those found guilty of sabotaging water infrastructure. The IFP applauds the government's legislative efforts, including the recent assenting of the National Water Resource Infrastructure Agency Act, which aims to strengthen the management and development of critical water infrastructure. We also recognize the importance of public-private partnerships in mobilizing resources and expertise to address South Africa's ongoing water challenges. These initiatives mark a significant step towards improving water security. The Blue, Green, and No Drop programs are crucial in ensuring the safety and quality of South Africa's drinking water and wastewater treatment. The 2023 Blue Drop report reveals a concerning decline in drinking water quality since the last assessment in 2014. Several municipalities have experienced significant drops in their Blue Drop scores, indicating deteriorating water quality management practices. Immediate interventions are needed to safeguard public health and ensure access to safe drinking water. Honorable Chairperson, we urge that greater investment and support be extended to municipalities. These must include water specialists, personnel, and sizable grants to improve water infrastructure. South Africa is a water-scarce country. Let us use water sparingly, let us reuse it, and let us conserve it. Thank you, Honorable Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Dithebe. We will now go over to the PA, Honorable Matopa. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Honorable members, the Northwest Province faces a severe water crisis due to prolonged droughts, aging infrastructure, and poor resource management. Many communities nationally experience water shortages, impacting daily life, agriculture, and health. Rivers and dams are drying up, exacerbating the situation. Rural areas are particularly affected, with residents often relying on unsafe water resources. Minister uchazile ngabanzi izolo, wade waphinda-phinda, siyabulela ngomsebenzi owenzayo, kodwa akwanelanga. Ibuhlungu lento yokuswela amanzi kwabantu. Amanzi impilo, Minister. Last week in Zirast, Lihurudzi, in the Northwest, abantu abadala, omakhulu notamkhulu, bavale indlela in wheelchairs and crutches. Badutyulwa ngoba bacela amanzi. Ibuhlungu kakhulu lonto, Minister. The crisis has led to protest and calls for government stringent intervention. Climate change further worsens the problem, reducing rainfall and increasing evaporation rates. Urgent action is needed to improve water infrastructure, implement sustainable management practices, and ensure equitable access to clean water for all residents. Water is the lifeblood of our nation. It sustains our communities, drives our economy, and nourishes our environment. Yet, South Africa faces a growing water crisis, exacerbating by climate change, aging infrastructure, and increasing demand. To secure our future, we must act decisively by investing in capacity building, infrastructure, and legislative reform to improve water management and ensure compliance with the blue, green, and no-drop standards. Firstly, capacity building is essential. We must equip our water sector professionals with the skills and knowledge needed to manage this precious resource effectively. Training programs, workshops, and partnerships with academic institutions can foster innovation and expertise. Empowering local communities to participate in water conservation efforts will also ensure sustainable practices at the grassroots levels. Secondly, infrastructure investment is critical. Many of our water systems are outdated, leading to significant losses through leaks and inefficiencies. By modernizing our infrastructure, we can reduce water wastage, improve distribution, and ensure reliable access to clean water for all. Projects like wastewater treatment upgrades, dam maintenance, and rainwater harvesting systems must be prioritized. And thirdly, legislative reform is necessary to strengthen governance and accountability. Our current laws must be updated to address emerging challenges, such as pollution and over-extraction. Clearer regulations, stricter enforcement, and incentive for compliance with the blue, green, and no-drop standards will drive better water management practices across industries and municipalities.
Honorable Topa, thank you, Honorable Topa. Your time has expired. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Chair.
The next speaker will be from the Freedom Front Plus, Honorable Boshoff. Thank you. You may take the floor.
Thank you, Honorable House Chair. Now, the unique nature of water is due to two things. The one reason is because it's biologically essential. No plant life, animal life, any life can exist without water. And the other thing is the extraordinary ability of water to clean up stuff. The most important factor contributing to increased human longevity is indeed not food security, but waterborne sanitation. The fact that water that we polluted is taken somewhere where it is isolated and treated, or just exposed to the nature and ecologically broken down, all the pollutants and all the bacteria and stuff, and then it can either go back into the atmosphere or into water sources being released back in the ecology. Nou, oor al die eeuwe is dit maar hoe mense gemaak het. Jy het na die naaste waterbron, 'n stroompie, 'n dammetjie of selfs 'n put gegaan, water geskep, dit gebruik, dit vuil gemaak en die vuil water nou maar daar ergens gegooi en die natuur het dit hanteer. Het nie 'n probleem geword nie totdat ons so baie geword het, totdat ons mense begin stede bou het en jy nodig het om hierdie water weg te neem sodat dit behandel kan word en dat ons ook die water wat ons nog wil gebruik, skei van die water wat ons reeds gebruik het. Die water wat ons nog wil gebruik, moet natuurlik skoongemaak word. Dit moet voorberei word vir menslike gebruik. Dan moet dit na huise toe gestuur word met pype, en as dit klaar gebruik is, moet die vuil water weer met die rioolpype teruggaan na die rioolplase toe. En dis waar die blou druppel, die groen druppel en die geen druppel inkom. Die blou druppel is goeie drinkbare water. Die groen druppel is doen weg met die besoedelde water op 'n manier wat dit nie weer in die menslike stelsel inkom nie. En die geen druppel is doen al hierdie sonder om water te mors, sonder dat dit wegraak. Nou is die probleem dat hierdie goed is ongelooflik kapitaalintensief. Dis duur om te bou, dis duur om te onderhou en dit verg voortdurende aandag. Soos iemand al gesê, die duiwel is in elke pyp. Die goed verstop, dan sit jy met nie een huis se riool soos wanneer jy 'n pittoilet het nie, maar met 50 of 100 huise se riool wat op een plek uitloop. Nou 'n slim ou het op 'n dag gesê, the solution to pollution is distribution. Hoe meer jy dit uitmekaar uit wegvat, hoe minder besoedelend is dit. Nou wat ons in werklikheid doen met 'n rioolplaas is die teenoorgestelde. Ons bring al die biologies gevaarlike riool bymekaar om dit te kan behandel, maar as ons dit dan nie behandel nie, dan skep ons 'n ramp. Nou die probleem is dat ons hele stedelike beplanning is eintlik daarop ingestel om van water ontslae te raak, water wat met reën val en water wat gebruik is, terwyl ons hierdie vuil water eintlik as 'n hulpbron moet beskou. Hoekom is dit vuil? Dit is vuil omdat dit 'n hoë lading van voedingsstowwe het. Dit is iets wat weer gebruik kan word. Die probleem is, solank as wat jy 'n ding as 'n afval of as 'n pestilensie of as 'n plaag beskou, gaan dit jou altyd baie geld kos om dit te hanteer. Maar die oomblik wat jy dit omskep in 'n hulpbron, en wat jy byvoorbeeld biobrandstowwe of baie ander produkte daaruit kan vervaardig, het jy 'n hele paradigma skuif gemaak wat die probleem verander in 'n hulpbron, en dit is iets waarvan jy dan op die ou end nie te veel het nie, maar nooit genoeg van kan kry nie, want jy het werk daarvoor. Dit is 'n nuwe manier van dink. Dankie, agbare voorsitter.
Thank you very much, Honorable Boshoff. The next speaker will be from Action SA, Honorable MP Kobe. You may have the floor. Thank you. Honorable Kobe, are you there?
I'm here, Chair. Thank you. I was just managing my device.
You may go ahead.
Thank you so much, House Chair. Honorable Chair, the Vaal Dam achieved a significant milestone last week, Friday, as water levels reached exactly 100% capacity. This comes after steady rainfall throughout the entire week, marking a key milestone for water security in the region, as this was the first time the reservoir has completely been full since 2023. It is, however, very regrettable that this very water lies in the most polluted river, witnessing a discharge of 1,500 million liters of effluent per day by the irresponsible 32 wastewater treatment works that are located in the Vaal River catchment area. Further to this, what is more disheartening, House Chair, is that 47% of this water that is meant to reach residents will be lost as non-revenue water through leaking distribution channels and illegal connections. This paints a clear picture for us as South Africans that maybe we do not have a water supply crisis, but rather a water infrastructure crisis that is exacerbated by poor leadership and mismanagement. The latest Blue Drop report from the Department of Water and Sanitation highlights that nearly 1/3 of the country's water supply systems are in a critical state, while the Green Drop report also indicates that 64% of wastewater treatment works are at high or critical risk. This leads to partially treated or untreated water being discharged into our water resources, causing harm to aquatic life and the environment. Honorable Minister, something must be done. While we acknowledge that there are constitutional parameters, you remain at the head of the value chain. The buck must end with you. It is a well-documented fact that our municipalities are failing in their role as water service authority, with 50% of them providing unsafe water to our communities. Honorable Minister, South Africans are desperate for solutions, and as Action SA, in the absence of these solutions, we will step in and propose comprehensive multi-pronged solutions. We are calling for the professionalization of municipalities and water boards. Honorable Chair, since the dawn of democracy, municipalities have never been professionalized. They have been a key center for cadre deployment, where appointment are based on patronage rather than merit. Through this reform, we can ensure that municipal water services become professionally run and financially sustainable. As Action SA, we will improve water-related service delivery by effectively managing South Africa's water infrastructure through the newly assented National Water Resource Infrastructure Agency and roll out all these programs right down to local level. And we will enforce legislative reforms that will empower the department to play an effective oversight role over water service authorities by issuing operating licenses only to those who meet required levels of capability and revoking them when they don't. The days of municipalities acting with absolute impunity must come to an end. And finally, to avoid another Giyani water project, Action SA will be stepping forward with our zero tolerance corruption bill to address the corruption that has permeated into the very fabric of this department, House Chair. This legislation is designed to deal decisively with corrupt elements who have been at the heart of several project delays in this department. It is only through these reforms that the current crisis can be addressed to ensure a sustainable and equitable future for South Africa's water security. Thank you, House Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Kobe. The next speaker will be from the ANC, Honorable K.S. Ramalia. Thank you very much. You may take the floor.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, and greetings to the leadership. Chairperson, honorable members, and Minister and Deputy Ministers, our Honorable President Cyril Ramaphosa, in his State of the Nation address, affirmed the ANC's commitment to actively address the water crisis in the country, as he outlined several big water infrastructure projects that, once they are developed, will expand access to communities without access to safe, clean drinking water as per the constitutional obligations. Among the water infrastructure projects that the President Ramaphosa announced are the construction of the Ndabalanga Dam that will be connected to the Umzivumbu River to supply additional water to the former Transkei, mostly rural areas of Eastern Cape. The Umkomazi Dam and the Polihali Dam, which will receive water from the Lesotho Highlands Water Project to feed into the water supply for several provinces for both domestic use and for irrigation. Honorable Chairperson, these big water infrastructure projects add to the existing projects that the department is implementing across the country through the Regional Bulk Water Infrastructure Grant and the Water Services Infrastructure Grant that are allocated annually to district metropolitan municipalities. At least 91 regional bulk water infrastructure projects are currently under construction at various phases, with 10 already completed. The accomplishment is a clear demonstration of the ANC's commitment to actively addressing the water crisis by expanding access through building infrastructure to ensure safe, clean, accessible water for all South Africans. And Honorable Chair, we know the minister now is a bit hamstrung by legislation. We know the intervention can be done through Section 63 of the Service Act and through Section 139 of the Constitution. But Chair, the water reforms that are being proposed now and the bill is sitting with Parliament, once this is passed, Chair, the minister will be empowered to act with the speed and time that is necessary to intervene where water service authorities who have sufficiently demonstrated failure to carry their function as water and service authorities, and where projects are being stalled for too long. But like in Guyana, like in Hammanskraal, the department through the minister has demonstrated its efficiency to be able to intervene. But once the bill is passed, I'm sure with this minister, we'll see more progress and more intervention, and more infrastructure will be enrolled. As the African National Congress, we believe the existing compliance regulations and consequence management mechanisms are not effective. That is why we are now advocates for stricter penalties for municipalities that fail to meet blue, green, and no drop status. Stricter penalties for municipalities that don't meet blue, green, and no drop standards will help a lot to resolve the problems in local municipalities. But we also need to look into other options that our government has, like using Section 78 of the Municipal Systems Act, which lets the municipalities and communities decide how municipal services can be provided, either by the municipality itself or by a service provider from outside the municipality. As the African National Congress, we strongly advocate for the establishment of a special purpose vehicle in situations where local municipalities fail to provide adequate water and sanitation services. In other words, we're looking at a situation where a water service authority should consider ring-fencing the water services provision function, either in sources or outsources, depending on the capacity of such municipalities. Our support for creating a special purpose vehicle does not mean that it will be a long-term solution. Instead, it is a short to medium-term way to deal with the problems that are already there. As the African National Congress, we will make sure that any established special purpose vehicle package includes the water service authorities, investment in building internal capacity through skill training programs and hiring qualified staff. The move is in line with President Ramaphosa's announcement that his government for this year will prioritize investing in skills development by increasing the production of artisans through TVET colleges. These and other government efforts will progressively restore good governance and, by implication, improve the management and functionality of water service authorities to better manage their water and sanitation infrastructure. The African National Congress calls upon the Minister Majordina to seize the opportunity opened by President Ramaphosa to commit investing heavily in the country's water resources. We are aware that the department has unfunded planned water and sanitation infrastructure projects. It is an opportunity for the department to tap into the more than 940 billion that would be made available over the next 3 years. We hope that among the planned and funded water projects are projects that will broaden the country's water resources, such as desalination projects in coastal areas and wastewater recycling projects, among others. Lastly, as the African National Congress, we are calling on the department and generally the government to move towards alternative technologies that can withstand natural disasters, which have become a regular occurrence in our country, as evidenced by the recent flooding in certain parts of the country, like Gauteng and the KwaZulu-Natal provinces. It is important that government enhance its disaster preparedness mechanisms to ensure our water and sanitation infrastructure becomes climate change resilient. As the African National Congress, we call upon the government to mainstream climate change resilience as part of its resolution to fix the management of functionality of water service authorities.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Thank you very much. Now the next speaker will be from the NCC. Do we have a speaker from the NCC? Do we have a speaker from the PAC? Any speakers from the PAC? If not, then I will go on to the next speaker from the ANC, Honorable the Minister of Water and Sanitation. Thank you. You may have the floor.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. Thank you very much to all honorable members on this platform, the Deputy Chief Whip of the largest party. In welcoming this debate, it is a very good timing to bring this debate, Honorable House Chair. This is the debate taking place during the Human Rights Month, which is also regarded as a water month. We appreciate the fact that all MPs who have participated in this debate, they are very much concerned about our water reliability and water access. It is upon these lawmakers present on this debate today that let's fast track the amendment of the laws, because what we have currently might have been unintended consequences that we find ourselves unable to move beyond where we are in terms of making inroads and taking over some responsibilities of municipality. We are in a constitutional country, a country that is led by or through the laws, and therefore we cannot act as if it is just a walk in the park. Allow me to appreciate members who brought tangible recommendation. What Honorable Kobe said, that the challenge is not water supply in terms of the bulk supply. If it was, correctly so that she said, if it was, we are not going to meet any water on the street. It therefore means water supply is there. What is lacking, as I said yesterday, is the reticulation and provision of water thereof. Allow me, ndingamthwali uthikoloshe nhloko. Bakhona ndingazubaphendula apha abathunyelweyo, and andizubaphendula tu, zawuphendula abantu abayaziyo lento yamanzi. Kukho abantu abangena ne-idea babe ngamakhansela iminyaka kodwa bayazi into ba i-department iqala phi iyophela phi. Andizubathwala ke ntloko bazondirhobela, andizubathwala tu. Bawuqhuba nalento yabo bathi makawe ubanibani, must go, akazuya ndawo. Aba kandithunywanga kwangabo ke bona abo. SPV, we are on track in terms of ensuring that the municipalities who want to be assisted nge-SPV bayancediswa. I must as well say chair of the house chair into yoba ezona nto zibambekayo amaqabane ezenazo apha i-delivery and implementation model. That is this what we are all about in terms of these of AMA reforms. Financing and viability of water sector. That we agree, that is what we want to do. Institution and capacity building, that is what honest members who know exactly what is happening in municipalities, they know exactly who must do what at what point. The issue of partnership with government, labor, civil society, private sector, and traditional leaders. Honorable Dlamini from the EFF spoke very well, like Honorable Musikati, Honorable Ramaila, Honorable Kobe, Honorable Mutupa, who are saying we acknowledge there is a challenge. However, we must fast track whatever law that will make the environment conducive for intervention. Dealing with criminality and vandalism within the water sector. That is what the sponsor of the motion started with, to say once we deal with this and ensure that the funding model for municipality is also adhered to. Abantu abacinga into yoba bazawuzisa into zeward apha, kukho councillor, kukho omasipala. Umasipala une-role. Singenelele kumasipala waseThekwini, singenelele kumasipala waseJohannesburg, siyangenelela kwamasipala ngantoni? Bendiyithethile izolo. Singenelela nge-WISIC grant, singenelela nge-RIPIC grant. Akukho ngxaki in terms of supply. Apho siyavumelana, ngaphandle komntu ongaboniyo ongafuna ubona onxiba i-shades. endlini akazubona into yoba siyangenelela. I-water treatment plant, the bulk water supply, the projects that Honorable Ramaila has just spoken about, into yoba nazi project zi-unlockiwe, za-unblockwa into yoba mazinike amanzi. Xa sesigqibile amanzi uzawudibana nawo esitrateni, funeka kuthiwe inike ngoku xa kukhona amanzi esitrateni, andiziyotshayela amanzi esitrateni. Amanzi amele into yoba mawangene etepini, and therefore abantu abayaziyo le nto yamanzi abafiki bazongxola apha bazosixelela ngento yoba baze bawina iwodi ibitheni ingathangani na, abantu baze bathini na. Sithi phela udibana nabantu veki naveki, sihamba phantsi siya ebantwini sibaqinisekise into yoba thina owethu umsebenzi siyawenza. Ndibabonile ke besebenzisa izandla apha, inoba kufuneka ndiphinde kwenzela uba ndingazi uaccuswa kuthiwe ndiyaba-intimidate abantu ngezandla, ndizigoqe izandla zam, kodwa baninzi ndibabonile besebenzisa izandla apha. Thina si-ready already amendment seyiphaya kwi-chief law state advisor, izawuthi xa isuka khona ingene ecabinet ize apha epalamente. Ndinqwenela ke into yoba bonke abantu bebethetha apha bazama usincedisa uba ikhawuleze upase lo mthetho sokwazi ungenelela, ngoba ka nako yena re tshwerwe matsoho a tlamelwa ka morao, ha re kgone ho kenella jwalo ka takatso e re nang le yona kaofela. Nna ke tswa mahaeng, ha hona metsi le ho ya ka ward le ho ya ka masepala, hobane lefapha ha le tsebe ho feta le tlola bo masepala dilo kenella. Ke mmuso ona, ebile mmuso o tshwanetse re o hlomphe corporate governance. Ke ntho ene re batlang ho etsa hore re thuse batho hantle, hore re sebedisane mmoho modulasetulo. Modulasetulo ho bohlokwa hape into yoba ndiyicacise into ethi amanzi. Ukhona umember apha othe abantu balinde i-water tankers because xa sasiya kwi-elections ngo-2024 babethathe i-water tankers bazifaka izitika zabo, befuna ukuvotelwa behamba behijeka i-water tankers bezifaka izitika zabo. Namhlanje yile nto yokwazi uma apha aqine athi mabalinde i-water tankers. Asifuni ezi water tankers, bonakala ngokuzophakamisa i-water tankers apha. Asifuni ezi water tankers, sifuna amanzi abalekayo angena ngee-pipes zikamasipala zezi bazonakalisayo ukuze ngene i-water tankers. Izolo ndiyicacisile into yoba sebekhona abantu ababanjiweyo, ii-cases eseziphambili ecourt esithi ke maziqhubeke ezo zinto. Apart from i-infrastructure, sithi maku-ring fencwe le mali inikwa oomasipala khona ukuze yenze le nto ii-members that we're alluding to, that let there be operation, let there be maintenance, let there be correct billing, let us close the leaks. Mandithi us ndimini government at a local level, because ngabo yi-infrastructure nee-assets zabo eziya. Thina sijonge phambili kwezi reforms. Zibalulekile ezi reforms khona ukuze sibone le nto yoba amanzi upresident ethe is priority number one. When that water is elevated to priority number one, it must ensure that it responds to the crisis. It was not out of thumbsucking when the president said the water must be elevated to priority number one, because population ikhulile. When the population is growing, surely the demand of water izawugqitha i-supply. Thina sizakwenza sure into yoba i-supply yamanzi yona enough, kodwa makuncediswe into yoba singenelele njani xa kufuneka siqinisekise into yoba i-reticulation iyenzeka. Sifuna into yoba sohlukanise, as I said yesterday, the water service authority as well as the water service providers, because at the moment you find that one a service provider or authority, they do one and the same. But we must be able to get someone who will make them to account. One of the honorable members said so here, to say, let's have an independent institution that will also oversee these people. We are launching the anti-forum structure, working with SIU at all levels to ensure that the communities, they take charge as well of amanzi and babe phaya ukugada lamasela onakalisa pipes, ingakumbi phaya eThekwini. Abanye abantu abalapha ba-responsible for laa nto yenzeka phaa kwelaa Theku, njengoba bezobuya bazongcola apha. Xa ndigqibezela ke sihlalo, i-issue ye-water management ibalulekile kakhulu into yoba wamanejwe la manzi. The fact is, whilst there might be lack of political willingness, but there is a reality that the infrastructure at a local municipality level ayikwazi ukuvumelana nomthamo wamanzi oziswa kuwo. The infrastructure cannot take the volume of water because of
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Your time has expired. Thank you very much.
Ndiyabulela, danko.
Thank you. The next speaker will be from the DA, Honorable A.M. Van Zyl. You may take the floor. Thank you very much.
Honorable House Chairperson, fellow members, and all those who cherish the very essence of life. Imagine waking up, reaching for a glass of water, only to find nothing. Water is not just a resource, it is survival. It is dignity, it is hope, yet we often take it for granted until it is gone. While I could share stories from all over South Africa, today I want to first tell you about my hometown, Burgersdorp, a small town in the northeastern part of the Eastern Cape, where just under 20,000 people call this place home. Here, like in many other parts of South Africa, we confront a critical issue impacting the health, environment, and economic stability of our nation, the crisis in municipal water management. Water shedding in Burgersdorp occurs every second day, with taps only open from 6 a.m. until noon, forcing families to scramble for the limited water available. This situation is made worse by the Jogabi district municipality's failure to secure alternative water sources and address the multitude of leaks in the infrastructure. Months pass with water gushing from broken pipes, while residents are left to ration what little they can collect. The situation is dire, as evidenced by the lack of investment in capacity building programs that would ensure skilled professionals manage our most precious resource. The Department of Water and Sanitation has issued a total of 164 directives to municipalities for their failure in some other way with water management. Yet the South African Local Government Association, SALGA, has failed to translate capacity building initiatives into improved municipal performance. Could the money spent on these initiatives not be better spent in addressing aging infrastructure? What then is SALGA doing to address the pressing issue of skills capacity in our municipalities? The answer is disheartening. We see a persistent gap between the need for qualified personnel and the actual capability of our local governments to manage water resources effectively. Moreover, we must emphasize the necessity of consequence management. It is a phrase that is easily used in meetings when perusing glossy presentations, yet it remains unenforced. If you are responsible for forcing residents to share water with livestock from a river, you must bear the consequences. If you are the reason families go weeks without water, you must face the repercussions. If your negligence leads to schools closing early due to water shortages, you must be held accountable. As government, if you allow leaks to waste precious water for months in a water-scarce environment, you must answer for that as well. The root cause of these failures lies in political will, or the lack thereof. Cadres and corruption within our municipal administrations have led to an alarming culture of looking the other way while communities continue to suffer. This can be seen in Maluti Apufong, where the mayor and speaker, both from the same party running different factions, that keeps council so tied up in their internal fights that service delivery takes a beating. Here, when two bulls fight, all the residents suffer. In Maluti Apufong, the water board bill is nearly 1 billion rand. The council is ineffective, and while allowed to continue with no consequences taken or no political will to serve, the residents will continue to suffer. Another example is the city of Johannesburg, where residents bear the brunt of their uncaring ANC-led council. The city is grappling with a severe water crisis characterized by frequent supply interruptions, decaying infrastructure, and allegations of mismanagement and corruption. These challenges has led communities having to take water from leaking pipes and businesses having to close down. It is quite worrisome to see how a blind eye to this failing government has led to the downfall of the once prestigious city. We also have to wonder why this municipality has never been placed under a constitutional intervention, adding that the president now wants a presidential working group to rectify the situation in the city of Johannesburg. In contrast, the DA City of Cape Town has proactively over the years addressed the water infrastructure challenges to save residents from a day zero scenario. The city implemented comprehensive water demand strategies, achieving a remarkable reduction in water usage by more than 50%. Measures included enforcing personal water use limits, increasing tariffs for excessive consumption, and promoting public awareness campaigns, fostering a culture of water conservation among residents. House Chair, we must never forget that water is a vital conduit for development and plays a key role in poverty alleviation. The dignity of our people and the development of our nation is futile without a stable, reliable water infrastructure. What government should do is to invest in infrastructure development, to fix water leaks within a reasonable time, to possibly amend the National Water Act to impose financial penalties on municipalities that exceed a specific percentage of water loss due to leaks and mismanagement, to fast-track emergency procurement processes for water infrastructure repairs by exempting urgent water maintenance projects from a lengthy tender process, and to form partnerships with skilled expertise in the water management field. Finally, we need to see the government take action in these failing municipalities. We need to see more municipal infrastructure grant funding allocation under Schedule 6B that relate to indirect spending on projects through national departments or entities on behalf of municipalities. This will greatly assist in reducing infrastructure backlog and ease the situation for residents in these failing municipalities. These allocations are intended to address critical infrastructure needs within a specified municipality, with the national government overseeing the effective utilization of the funds. This is a supportive measure to enhance service delivery in areas where municipal capacity is limited, thereby promoting equitable access to essential services across South Africa. Let us remember, without water, there is no life, no future, and no second chances. The time for second chances for ANC-run municipalities has also run out or crumbled like the aging infrastructure. I thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Van Zyl. The final speaker for the day will be the ANC, Honourable S L Dithebe. Thank you. You may take the floor.
Thank you, House Chair. House Chair, let me say all of the speakers, without exception, those in the opposition benches and those that are part of the GNU, agree with the ideals that we conceived 70 years ago, 70 years being the many years ago when the Freedom Charter was adopted. Those were just ideals, but many of those ideals over the last 30 years have been translated into systems and institutions which have seen the massive rollout of infrastructure in water and sanitation as aptly outlined by the Minister and several other speakers today. I'd like to say, Chairperson, that while thanking members, it is important that whatever misconceptions there may be must be cleared. First of all, Honourable Dlamini, there is no intent on the part of the ANC to privatize water or sanitation. We remain loyal to Section 27 of the Constitution and all other policies and legislation that have been rolled out. To the DA, the last speaker, if indeed you want to see investment in this infrastructure, let your party go and support the budget where 156.3 billion rand has been put aside to do exactly what you are saying must be done. To Honourable Reddy, I know all the time, very dramatic, but the President has intervened in eThekwini, and having intervened, everybody agrees that there indeed are results. And he's going to other metros, Johannesburg, and he will go indeed to other metros to ensure that everything, as per the injunctions of the State of the Nation address, everything in the water and sanitation sector is indeed realized. So having said that, I'd like to say that there isn't a single speaker, those from the opposition, who has said anything novel, anything new from what the ANC has conceived throughout the last 30 years, and indeed the vision of the Freedom Charter 70 years ago. We remain committed to righting whatever wrongs there may be. We do so because we recognize that there are certain wrongs. Lastly, Chair, the marine outfalls in the city of Cape Town, Hout Bay, Greenpoint, etc., are a sign that this is not something that we should be playing politics with, that virtually every nook and cranny of our country is touched by one type of problem as far as water and sanitation is concerned, or the other. So there is no perfection as far as this is concerned. So we regard South Africa as belonging to all who live in it, and we regard this problem of water and sanitation as something that must be tackled to ensure that the quality of life of our people is enhanced and that their well-being is guaranteed. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Dithebe. That concludes the debate and the business of this virtual mini plenary session. The mini plenary will now rise.